Chapter 197. Hinata and Tsunade waited for a while before the daimyo of the Land of Fire entered the conference room with 2 officials and 2 guardian ninjas. The daimyo of the Land of Fire was a sissy old man in the original manga. Seeing Tsunade and Hinata, the 2 beautiful women, the daimyo didn't seem to have any interest in them. He just greeted them in a very friendly manner. Hinata speculated that the daimyo must like men, and he must be the type of man who has a devil's muscle. The 2 officials looked ordinary and were completely passers-by. As for the 2 guardian ninjas, although they had the symbol of the guardian ninjas on their bodies, they didn't wear Shinobu's ninja headband. They should be the same as the Land of Fire. The daimyo hired strong people. Although the Land of Fire only had 1 ninja village, Shinobu, there were some forces similar to the Land of Fire. Chakra wasn't exclusive to ninjas. Many samurai could also use chakra to fight, but they didn't have the means to learn ninjutsu. Through Hyogo's explanation for many years, Hinata had some understanding of the power structure of the Land of Fire. The daimyo was the most powerful person in the Land of Fire. He was in charge of the country's politics and economy, including the appointment of Naruto. Naruto was in charge of the country's military, including foreign wars. Naruto could decide everything. The number of ninjas was actually very small compared to the entire country. Therefore, the Land of Fire's system was that ordinary people managed ordinary people, while Shinobu's ninjas managed all kinds of supernatural forces including ninjas. The Land of Fire actually had an army, but most of the army was composed of ordinary people. There were very few samurai who could use chakra to fight. The Land of Fire's military power was mainly Shinobu, and the daimyo's army was mainly to manage ordinary people. After the 2 sides sat down, Tsunade handed the plan of the ninja hospital to the daimyo and introduced, "This is Shinobu's latest plan. Shinobu intends to implement a hospital composed of medical ninjas in the entire Land of Fire, which is a branch of the Shinobu Hospital. This plan is very beneficial to the Land of Fire, and it can also train a large number of medical ninjas for Shinobu. It's a win-win plan." The daimyo narrowed his eyes like an old fox and looked down at the plan without saying a word. Tsunade was right. If this plan could be carried out, both Shinobu and the Fire Nation would benefit from it. The ability of a medical ninja is not comparable to that of an ordinary doctor. If a medical ninja hospital can be implemented throughout the Land of Fire, the annual death rate of people in the Land of Fire will be greatly reduced. But from the standpoint of the daimyo, there was a problem. Once a medical ninja hospital composed of Shinobu's medical ninjas is implemented throughout the country, then the recognition of Shinobu by ordinary people will be greatly improved. In contrast, the prestige of the daimyo will be weakened. Itachi Uchiha was right about one thing. It's not that you have to become Naruto to get everyone's recognition, but you have to get everyone's recognition to become Naruto. The same is true for the daimyo. The daimyo's family has ruled the Land of Fire for many years. Before Shinobu was established, the daimyo's grandfather was in charge of the Land of Fire. This ruling position has been deeply ingrained in the Land of Fire. But once Shinobu gains great prestige among the civilians, it will have a certain impact on the rule of the daimyo. The daimyo suddenly raised his head and looked at Hinata, waving a small fan, and said with a smile, "Oh, isn't this the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan? Hinata? Hinata-san has been in the limelight recently. I didn't expect that you, who was so naughty as a child, have now become a ninja who can take charge of her own affairs." Hinata smiled shyly and said, "Daimyo, you flatter me." Hinata has seen the daimyo several times when she was a child, but she didn't speak to him. The Hyuga family is actually not a simple ninja family, but a noble family of the Land of Fire. The Hyuga family can establish friendship with so many nobles in the shinobi world by relying on their noble status. It's just that the Hyuga family is used to being a ninja, and they have the Byakugan Kekkei Genkai, so when the shinobi world mentions the Hyuga family, they think that the Hyuga family is just a Kekkei Genkai family. However, in the circle of ninja, the identity of a noble is actually useless. Everyone still looks at each other's strength. The daimyo looked at Tsunade with some surprise and wondered, "Tsunade, why did you bring Hinata-san with you?" Tsunade explained, "Hinata is my secretary now." The daimyo waved his small fan and pushed the plan to Tsunade with a smile, and said with a somewhat inexplicable tone, I agree with this plan, since the Land of Fire and Shinobu are both profitable. Then let's implement it as soon as possible. With a faint smile, the daimyo said, I trust Shinobu very much. Since your grandfather, Shinobu has never let me down, and the Land of Fire is getting stronger and stronger under the protection of Shinobu. But recently, some people seem to be restless. Tsunade, you have to pay more attention. Tsunade said solemnly. Thank you, daimyo. Shinobu will not fail to live up to your trust. As for some clowns, Shinobu is enough to deal with all enemies. Please rest assured, daimyo. The daimyo waved his small fan and slowly got up and said with a seemingly innocent look, Since you have said so, Tsunade, then I have nothing to worry about. After that, the daimyo left the conference room with the officials and the guardian ninja. Hinata scratched his face and looked at Tsunade with some doubts and said strangely, Big sister. Daimyo, what do you mean? Tsunade glanced at Hinata and chuckled. It's a good thing for you. Hinata's heart thumped. Why does he feel that things are getting more and more wrong? Tsunade got up and said, It's getting late, let's go back too. Hinata's face was full of confusion, and he shouted, We came all the way to the capital of the Fire Country. Why didn't Daimyo invite us for a meal? Creak. The door of the conference room was pushed open, and Shinobu's guardian ninja stood at the door awkwardly, and said hesitantly, Daimyo has ordered people to prepare lunch for Naruto. Sama, please have lunch with Naruto. Sama before returning to Shinobu. Hinata. Hinata glanced at the guardian ninja, and asked expressionlessly, Senpai, did you hear anything just now? The guardian ninja said frankly, Just now Hinata felt that he was losing control of his chakra, and the chakra in his right hand was flashing. We just talked about the top secret of Shinobu. Naruto-sama, what did you talk about just now? Tsunade pinched Hinata's little face and snorted. Are you satisfied now? Hinata pinched back, and with Hinata's current height, he could touch a certain part of Tsunade's body with just a raise of his hand. Now you're satisfied. The guardian ninja witnessed the whole process, and at this moment he wished that he was blind. When I return to Shinobu in the future, will I be sent to my death by Tsunade-sama? Chapter 198. F***CK. Xiang. Chick. Tian. Tsunade was furious. This little girl was getting bolder and bolder recently. She even dared to flirt with this old lady in public. Do you know when Jiraiya was the closest to death? Hinata ran outside and turned back to Tsunade and stuck out her little tongue. Hey, come and catch me. Huff, huff. Tsunade calmed down and thought that this was the daimyo mansion. If he smashed it with a punch, the impact would be too great. He should wait until he returned to the village and teach this little girl a lesson. Coldly looking at the guardian ninja, Tsunade snorted and walked out of the meeting room. The guardian ninja was sweating all over. He wished he could blind his eyes immediately. I will definitely be sent to my death by Tsunade-sama. In the daimyo mansion's restaurant, the chef prepared a large table of delicious food for Tsunade and Hinata. The two of them sat in their seats and ate with big mouthfuls. No one knew where the wind god and the thunder god were arranged. Anyway, they were nowhere to be seen. The reason why the Ambu didn't come to eat was not because Tsunade cared about identity or anything, but because they couldn't take off their masks casually during the mission. Even if it was a meal, they had to hide and eat secretly. Of course, the Ambu didn't have to hide their identity in front of Naruto, but after all, there was Hinata, a little chunin here. The identity of the Ambu couldn't be known by Hinata. However, Hinata's appetite was particularly big. When she ate, even Tsunade felt that Hinata had a big appetite. The Ambu, Gulyalu, seeing Hinata eating so happily, Tsunade put a drumstick into Hinata's bowl and said with a smile, This is for you. Thank you, big sister. Hinata picked up the drumstick and took a bite. Tsunade smirked. No need to thank me, this drumstick just fell on the table. Hinata put down the drumstick, got up and was about to run out. Tsunade revealed a smug expression and pretended to be puzzled. Hinata, where are you going? We haven't finished eating yet. Hinata returned to his seat and explained to Tsunade, There's not enough storage space in my stomach. I need to delete some remaining files. Do you want to go? After saying that, Hinata ran out. Tsunade was stunned for 10 seconds before he came back to his senses. Looking at the table full of delicious food, he immediately lost his appetite. Hinata took a stroll outside and came back to continue eating. Seeing that Tsunade stopped eating, Hinata asked in confusion, "Big sister, why don't you eat? Is the food not to your liking? This is the famous prefecture. This is the famous prefecture. This is the famous prefecture." Tsunade kept hypnotizing himself in his heart, so he didn't punch Hinata's hateful face. He really missed the time when Jinin was still around. In the past, when Jinin was around, Tsunade was sometimes very annoyed because Jinin was always controlling her, not allowing her to do this or that. And although Hinata didn't care about her, Hinata was infuriating. Hinata stole a glance at Tsunade and suddenly asked, "By the way, big sister, what do you think of lecherous immortal?" Tsunade snorted. "Why, do you like him? How is that possible?" Hinata yelled. "Lascivious sage is already very old. Not to mention that he's a big pervert. Big sister, let me tell you, when lecherous immortal was in the village, I didn't even dare to go to the hot spring." Tsunade sneered. "How can I like something that even you don't like?" Hinata couldn't help but mourn for Jiraiya for 3 seconds in his heart. He originally wanted to help him with good intentions, but the effect didn't seem to be good. Tsunade glanced at Hinata and suddenly said, "Hinata, do you know that there is a way to eat all the delicacies in the world without spending money?" Hinata said in surprise, "There is such a good thing?" Tsunade stretched out a finger and said mysteriously, "That is to go on a blind date. Think about it, you can eat a meal every time you go on a blind date. If you go on a blind date every day, you can eat different delicacies every day. How about it, do you want to try it?" Hinata lowered his head and fell silent. After a while he looked up at Tsunade and said seriously, "Big sister, I think we shouldn't hurt each other. You are Naruto, and I am your secretary. We have to love each other to do better work, don't you think so?" Tsunade nodded, snorted and didn't say anything. Hinata said weakly, "Big sister, I want to take a day off tomorrow." Tsunade glanced at Hinata and said lightly, "There are 365 days and 52 weeks in a year. You are different from Jinin. You can rest for 2 days every week, which is a total of 104 days. There are 261 working days left, right?" Hinata nodded. It seemed that there was no problem. Tsunade looked at Hinata and said seriously, "You go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and get off work at 8 o'clock in the evening. You work for 12 hours a day and rest for 12 hours. After removing 130 days, there are 131 days left, right?" Hinata nodded. "Yes." Tsunade snorted. "There are 131 days left. You need to use up 2 hours of lunch and dinner, 2 hours of daydreaming, and 2 hours of fooling around. There are 49 days left, right?" Hinata. Why did he feel like something was wrong? Tsunade continued. "Including holidays, your birthday, your parents' birthday, my birthday, the birthdays of relatives and friends, including the New Year break, you only need to work for 11 days a year." Hinata. What kind of calculation was this? Tsunade snorted and continued. "As Naruto, I am not the kind of person who oppresses ninjas. I have decided to give you an extra 10 days off every new year." Hinata was delighted. Tsunade finally concluded. "So, you only need to work for 1 day a year, and you want to take a day off? Then why don't you just not go to work?" Hinata lowered his head and counted with his fingers. He felt like Tsunade seemed to have calculated something wrong, but after listening to the whole process, he felt like there was nothing wrong with it. Tsunade looked at Hinata and said coldly, "Yes." Hinata lowered his head obediently. "I was wrong." Tsunade said with a straight face, "Do you know you were wrong?" Hinata nodded weakly. Tsunade snorted, picked up the chopsticks and knocked on the table. "Eat!" Oh, after eating a tasteless lunch, Hinata and the 12 of them left Daimyofu and ran in the direction of Shinobu. Hinata was calculating along the way. Although Tsunade said that Hinata only needed to work for 1 day a year, why did he feel like he was working every day? When he returned to Shinobu, it was already evening. Walking through Shinobu's store, Hinata stretched and said loudly, I'm finally back, it's time for dinner again. Tsunade snorted and interrupted all of Hinata's beautiful fantasies. There's still a day's worth of work to deal with today. Jinin went out again. Hinata, come and help me, we might be busy until midnight tonight. Hinata panicked. What about dinner? Tsunade said as he walked. We'll eat in the office. Hinata. What happened to only working for one day a year? Chapter 199. Taking Fujin and Raijin to Naruto building, Hinata ordered the two to stand guard at the door. Turning on the office light, Hinata saw the piles of documents on the desk. It was a mess, and the reports from all the departments were piled up together. Tsunade took off her coat and threw it on the sofa inside. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and help tidy it up. Oh, okay. Hinata ran over and sorted the documents with Tsunade. In the past, this was Jinin's job. Hinata suddenly felt sorry for Danzo. Danzo's lifelong dream was to deal with these piles of reports every day. Hinata really wanted to pull Danzo over and let him try to see if he could last a month. Root's work is so good. Although the office environment is not very good, you can command a lot of ninjas to do things for you. And if you are bored, you can also make trouble for Naruto. Although Naruto's power seems to be great, but in fact, it is limited to this small village, or this office, and even the time to go out for a walk every day is very limited. Hinata looked at Tsunade and didn't seem to be happy at all. Alas. Hinata sighed and began to help Tsunade organize the documents. Tsunade asked casually, "What's there to sigh about at such a young age?" "I feel sorry for you," Hinata said while organizing the documents. "Big sister is very old, but she still looks very young. Obviously, she is in the prime of her life, but she has to deal with a pile of reports here. Just thinking about it makes me feel distressed." Tsunade said angrily, "Who are you calling old?" Hinata quickly admitted, "I didn't mean that. Seriously speaking, although Tsunade is very old, she is also the heroine of many doujinshi novels, and her popularity is high all year round." He was on par with him. After a moment of silence, Tsunade suddenly asked, "Do you find these jobs boring?" Hinata shook his head. "Although it's a little boring, I can't not do it. This is Naruto's responsibility," Tsunade sneered. "You know quite a bit." After half an hour, Hinata and Tsunade finally sorted out all the information. Tsunade couldn't help but complain. Those people who sent the information are really too much. They actually piled all the information together. Hinata sighed softly and said weakly, "I didn't feel it before when they were sent in batches. But this time, they were all sent together. It's really unimaginable." Tsunade said, "Let's go and eat first. Come back to work after dinner." Walking out of the office, Hinata instructed Wind God and Thunder God, "You two stand guard here. If someone comes to deliver documents, tell them to put it on the ground first. I'll help you pack your dinner." Wind God said naively, "Got it, big sister." Tsunade usually likes to drink a little wine in the evening. Hinata was also tired after a day. He held the wine glass and said with a smile, "Big sister, give me a glass too." Tsunade chuckled and poured a glass for Hinata. "Your era is really good. Although there are still a lot of troubles, it's much better than when I was young." Tsunade drank a glass of wine and looked out of the window. If she could have been born in this era, maybe Rope Tree and Sito wouldn't have died. Hinata filled Tsunade's glass and said obediently, "We can live such a happy life because of you seniors." Tsunade sighed softly. "Recently, I always feel that the crisis is getting closer and closer. The ninja world is not peaceful. Speaking of which, people of our generation have accomplished nothing. Other than protecting the village, we have done nothing at all." Hinata took a sip of the wine and said with a smile, "It's already great to be able to protect the village." The food was served. Hinata and Tsunade chatted while eating. "I don't know why, but since this morning, my heart has been a little messy. This time, sending Jinin and the others to the land of water. Will there be any accidents?" Tsunade was a little worried. Her premonitions have never been groundless. Well, Hinata thought for a while and suggested, "How about sending people to reinforce them?" Tsunade rolled her eyes at Hinata and said with a smile, "What? Seeing so much work, you want to go out and play? I'm going to reinforce Kakashi-sensei, Hinata retorted angrily. Even if I want to go out and play, I won't go to the land of water. It's too far away. Tsunade thought for a moment and slowly shook her head. Maybe I'm just imagining things. This time, with Kakashi leading the team, there shouldn't be too much of a problem. If they need reinforcements, they will send a message back. Hinata. By the way, isn't Lascivious Immortal outside? We can send a message to Lascivious Immortal and ask him to go to the land of water to take a look. Jiraiya has been out of contact for a long time. After eating, Hinata and Tsunade returned to the Naruto building to continue working. Hinata also brought back dinner for Fujin and Raijin as promised. In fact, Hinata was a little regretful now. These two big fat guys can't do anything except eat. If he can't take them out to fight, Hinata will really suffer a big loss. Naruto's work was as cumbersome as ever. When Hinata got off work, it was already past 11 o'clock in the morning. Returning to the Hyuga residence with Fujin and Raijin, Hinata arranged a bedroom for them in his small courtyard. In the Naruto building, Tsunade went to the rooftop alone and sat on the railing, looking at the crescent moon in the night sky in a daze. The evening wind blew, bringing with it a hint of coolness. Although Tsunade used to be alone, at least he had Jinin by his side, but now he was really alone. Shinobu in the middle of the night was not as lively as it was during the day. Looking from the Naruto building, the whole Shinobu was only left with a little bit of starlight, and a few pedestrians could be seen on the street. These people had dinner until midnight, and all of them were drunk and couldn't even find their homes. This is Naruto's responsibility. Tsunade chuckled, got up and walked down the rooftop. Anyway, he was alone. Tsunade didn't plan to go home. He would sleep in the office tonight, and he wouldn't have to go back and forth tomorrow. And, Hinata? Why are you back again? As soon as he walked into the office, Tsunade saw Hinata standing at the door with a depressed face, with her hands on her waist. Big sister, I thought you had already gone home? Hinata said. Tsunade was stunned. What's the matter? Hinata took out her small quilt and pillow from the corner and said with a smile. I see that Oni-san is all by herself. I was worried that you would be too scared to sleep at night, so I brought my luggage to accompany you. Tsunade sneered. I am Naruto. Opening the office door, Tsunade whispered to Hinata, come in. Chapter 200. In the following week, Hinata could be said to be as tired as a dog from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., taking out instant noodles all the time. Jinin went out to perform a task, and a lot of work fell on Hinata's head. Hinata was like a small top, being ordered around by Tsunade. But there was something to be happy about yesterday. The puppet car that Kankuro promised to help Hinata was ready, and it was sealed in a scroll and sent to Shinobu by Ninja Eagle. The shape of the car was very cool. Although it was made of wood, it was also a design drawn by Hinata himself. The roof could be freely moved, and it could become a convertible. The door was also a scissor door which could be opened up and down. Kankuro was very careful, and he sent the puppet car with the manual written by Kankuro himself. The puppet car needed to be maintained often. Although the puppet car couldn't fight, if it was used often, the mechanism inside would be worn out. As for the way to control the puppet car, it was relatively simple. Hinata couldn't use the chakra wire, but he only needed to touch the steering wheel with both hands, and through the chakra wire, he could make the car move. In order to modify his luxury car, Hinata specially asked for half a day's leave yesterday. He painted his car red, waxed it, and painted the emblem of the Hyuga family. After the color was done, Hinata always felt that something was missing. Hinata thought for a long time, and it turned out that he was missing an exclusive BGM, and an outfit that was suitable for a young lady. Hinata immediately went to the clothing store and ordered dozens of sets of clothes, and asked Hinata Takuma to invite a band back to record his own exclusive BGM. Ding 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 ding. Hinata relied on his memories and hummed a short piece of the entrance music of the God of Gamblers, and with his own original composition, a Naruto version of the entrance music of the God of Gamblers came out. From now on, this BGM will be the signature of Otsutsuki Hinata. Early in the morning, Hinata changed into a fashionable outfit and went to Naruto in her car. Driving the car, Hinata swaggered all the way and soon arrived at Hokage's building. Crack. Hinata pushed open the car door and quietly played Otsutsuki Hinata's entrance music. Dang 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 dang. Hinata tidied up his clothes, got out of the car, and walked toward Naruto Tower step by step, in slow motion here. It was perfect. After entering Naruto Tower, Hinata quickly ran out. Turning off the recorder, Hinata carefully sealed the puppet car in the scroll, and hid it away like a treasure. After that, Hinata walked into Naruto Tower under countless envious gazes. Tsunade witnessed everything from upstairs. Humph. Very impressive. Tsunade glanced coldly at Hinata and snorted, "But you'll be busy soon." I just received information from Kakashi. They encountered the ninjas of the Rock Village in the Water Country. The other side has a lot of ninjas. Kakashi and the other three can only wait for reinforcements. No wonder Asuma was also in the office. It turned out that he was going to support Kakashi. Tsunade said in a clear voice, "Asuma, Hinata. The two of you are ordered to form a support team and bring Kakashi, Jinin, Shernan, and Irubo back safely from the Water Country." Asuma said with a look of disbelief. "Support? Just the two of us?" Tsunade said lightly, "If Hinata goes, Fujin and Raijin will also act together. With the strength of the four of you, it's enough to bring Kakashi and the others back safely." Asuma didn't know Hinata's information, but Tsunade did, and Jiraiya didn't hide anything from Tsunade. Sage Mode. Although Tsunade didn't know much about Sage Mode, she had heard about it when she was a child. Her grandfather, Hashirama, defeated Uchiha Madara with Sage Mode. In the information provided by Jiraiya, if Hinata used Sage Mode, his strength wouldn't be much weaker than the Sannin. Such a rescue team was enough to deal with any situation. Hinata scratched his head and murmured, "Wani-san, do you have the specific location of Kakashi-sensei?" Tsunade gave a secret letter to Asuma and said, "This is the information sent by Kakashi. They may not be waiting in the same place, but with you I can rest assured." "Good. There's no time to lose, you go immediately," Hinata and Asuma said at the same time. "Yes." After that, the two of them left Naruto's office at the same time. After leaving Naruto's building, Asuma said, "Hinata, you go back immediately and prepare the supplies for the trip, and bring your ninja tools. After an hour, we will meet at the Shinobu's gate." "Okay. Got it." Hinata ran all the way home. He doesn't need to bring too many ninja tools, just enough to deal with some special situations, but he must bring enough food. Hinata, Kazekage, and Raytheon all had big appetites, especially Hinata, who was very picky about food. He brought 10 sealing scrolls in one go, and if there was no accident, 10 scrolls should be enough. And when they pass by the town on the way, they can also replenish their rations there. After an hour, Hinata came to Shinobu's gate with Kazekage and Raytheon. Asuma had already arrived for a while. "Let's go." The Water Country was in the east of the Fire Country, surrounded by the sea on all sides, forming the most natural protection. The Water Country was an island country, and there were dozens of large and small islands around it. The Water Country was surrounded by the sea, and the fishing industry was very developed. Although the Mist Village was relatively closed, the Water Country was not like the Mist Village that never interacted with the outside world. There were many ships going back and forth between the Fire Country and the Water Country. Hinata, Asuma, Kazekage, and Raytheon were in a hurry. When they left Shinobu, it was still early in the morning, and when they arrived at the easternmost coastline of the Fire Country, it was already 10 o'clock in the morning. The weather in October was slightly cold, and it was fine in Shinobu, but when they arrived at the coast, the temperature suddenly dropped. Asuma bought a boat and hired several boatmen. Hinata and the other three took the boat to the Water Country. It was also the first time for Hinata to take a boat, and he bought a straw hat for this purpose. Looking at the boundless sea, the vast and boundless azure ocean, the waves continued to surge. In the distance, the sea and the sky were connected, and a few birds were flying freely on the sea. In such an environment, Hinata couldn't help but feel refreshed, relaxed, and happy. Suddenly, he was in the mood to write a poem. "Ah, you are all water." After sending Kazekage and Raytheon to catch fish, Hinata lay on the deck to rest and bask in the sun. Asuma leisurely came over with a cigarette in his mouth. Hinata looked up and asked, "Asuma-sensei, have you been to the water country before?" Asuma took a puff and said, "The water country? Well, I have been there several times during the war. If we go by boat, it will take about 3 days." The Mist Village is located in the west of the water country, close to the sea, and its purpose is to resist the invasion of the land of the fire country. So when we go ashore, we must be careful not to be discovered by the Mist Ninjas. Chapter 201. Hinata looked at Asuma and slowly said, "Asuma-sensei, don't be too nervous. When I checked the information of the mist, I found that the mist's confidentiality measures are very strict. I heard that many of the secret techniques of the ancestors have been lost." Asuma spat out a smoke ring and said lightly, "I don't know about that. But the mist has always been very closed. A few years ago, there seemed to be internal strife, so it's normal to lose some ninjutsu. Since you have read the information of the mist, is there anything you need to pay attention to?" Hinata thought for a while and said, "There shouldn't be anything to pay attention to in the mist. In the past few years, the mist has been in internal strife. The 7 legendary swordsmen have also defected. The mist shouldn't have any decent jonin. But some time ago, I took back Zabuza's sword. The mist seems to have made a deal with the mist. So we only need to pay attention to the Jinchuriki and the few remaining swords." Asuma nodded. Hinata's analysis is reasonable. The mist's strength is indeed weak at this stage. But no matter how weak the mist is, they are still one of the 5 great ninja villages. There are tens of thousands of ninjas in the village, and at this moment, they are fighting in the mist territory. Once they are besieged by a large number of mist ninjas, even Asuma won't be able to survive. 3 days later at noon, Hinata could already see faint black spots on the horizon. Those were the shadows of several large islands on the edge of the land of water. Asuma took care of Hinata along the way. Maybe it's because he has a girlfriend. Asuma is now developing a trend of a warm man. It's just that this image doesn't match. But every time he sees Asuma, Hinata can't help but think of such a picture in his mind. Uchiha gave his eyes to Itachi and said, "Itachi, Shinobu's future is entrusted to you." Sunset. "Asuma, our child will be called Future." Cough cough. Asuma ordered the boatman to turn the boat around and approach the surrounding islands. It's not the main island of the water country, and the power of the ninjas is limited. If an ordinary ship docks, it won't arouse too much suspicion. After finding Hinata on the deck, Asuma said, "Hinata, when we get close to the main island of the water nation, we'll have to swim across the seabed." Hinata nodded. In the mist territory, it was better to be careful. Without Naruto by his side, Hinata did not have much confidence. The ship turned and headed toward the small islands around the main island of the water nation. When the ship was the closest to the main island of the water nation, Hinata, Asuma, Wind God, and Thunder God sneaked off the ship and headed toward the water nation from the bottom of the sea. The mist was the military force of the water country, so they didn't relax their defenses. It's just that the number of ninjas in the village was limited, and they had to defend such a long coastline. Coupled with Hinata and the Byakugan, the 4 of them easily avoided the defense line of the mist and sneaked into the territory of the water nation. Although the water nation is an island country, there are still many mountains, forests, and other special terrains in the country. Asuma found an open space in the forest and said, "Hinata, let's rest here for half an hour to restore our strength." Hinata looked at Asuma and said, "Asuma-sensei, are you tired?" Asuma nodded and said, "A little bit. I just swam all the way here and consumed a lot of energy." Hinata nodded and didn't say anything as he found a stone and sat down to rest. Sunset is really powerful, and Asuma looks very strong. Asuma took out a map from the ninja bag and explained, "Hinata, this is the location marked by Kakashi in the information. However, it's been more than 4 days since we came from Shinobu, so Kakashi may not be waiting for us. But since Kakashi sent a signal for help, he must have calculated the time we would arrive. In fact, the 5th Hokage has sent 2 teams of Umbu to wander on the sea, ready to support Kakashi and the others at any time. So Kakashi's first batch of support probably arrived 2 or 3 days ago. Although the is the elite force directly under Naruto, the members of the are basically chunin, and only the captain can be regarded as a jonin. So it's not unreasonable for the to be killed in the original story. After all, the has no genin. The ninjas participating in the 4th Shinobi World War are basically chunin level, and they only know how to throw shurikens. However, being able to throw shurikens is actually very powerful. At least they can fight against the first Hokage. Asuma continued. If Kakashi is still being chased by the rock, then Kakashi will probably arrive at the predetermined location around 3 o'clock this afternoon. If they have already gotten rid of the rock, then they will also come to meet with us. Hinata nodded and humbly asked, "Then what should we do? Directly go to support Kakashi-sensei?" Asuma said, "Well, if there is a battle, as a new force, we can indeed reverse the situation." But, Asuma turned to look at the Thunder God and Fujin. These two are still a little uneasy. Hinata saw Asuma's thoughts and assured, "Don't worry. Asuma, sensei, I have already taught them a lesson. They will be obedient." "That's good." Asuma was relieved. Half an hour later, Hinata and the other 3 ran to the place where they agreed to meet with Kakashi. Hinata kept the Byakugan open all the way. Although they didn't encounter any enemies, there were a lot of traps along the way. Asuma analyzed. From these traps Kakashi and the rock should be entangling and probing. There should be no real battle. But since Kakashi sent a signal to the village for help, it means that the number of rock ninjas is very large. But, what are they waiting for? Hinata's heart skipped a beat and she asked in a daze, Are they waiting for me?" Asuma frowned. "Impossible. How can the rock be sure that the 5th Hokage will send you to the water country?" This is also true. Tsunade sending Hinata to support Kakashi is actually normal. After all, Hinata has mastered Sage Mode. He is Shinobu's top combat power now. But how can the rock be sure that Hinata will come? Because of the 9 Tails Jinchuriki? But which village would casually send their Jinchuriki to a foreign country? What's more, the water country is one of the 5 major ninja countries. Once Shinobu's Jinchuriki goes berserk in the water country, wouldn't Shinobu and the Mist directly start a war? "Be careful!" Hinata suddenly shouted and quickly went into the tree to hide. Asuma, Fujin and Reikage followed and found a place to hide. Chapter 202. After a while Hinata whispered, "It's okay." Asuma asked, "Hinata, what did you find?" "Yes." Hinata nodded and said with a dignified face, "Just now several teams of Mistumbu passed by here, and looking at the direction they went." Hinata pointed to a place and said, "It's over there." Asuma took out the map and looked at it a few times and said, "Is that the cloud-hidden village in the north?" Hinata and the others landed in the northwest of the water country, and the cloud village is in the north. If there's a problem in the north, then it's very likely that the cloud village's ninjas landed in the water country, and were discovered by the mist village. Asuma lit a cigarette and calmly analyzed. Kakashi didn't mention the mist village in the report, obviously. They don't care about Shinobu and the rock village. But looking at their attitude towards the cloud, for Shinobu, this is a good thing. The Mist Village's change of dynasty and overthrow of the old regime is a major event that the entire ninja world is concerned about. The only ones who can participate in this are the few villages that are part of the 5 great ninja villages like the Mist. The Sand Village is now busy with their own affairs, so they shouldn't have time to come to the water country, but Shinobu and the Rock Village are already involved. Now that the Mist Village sent the to intercept the Cloud Village, it seems to show their stance. They don't welcome the Cloud Village. In fact, this is normal. The Cloud Village has always been domineering and has always been strong in diplomacy. And the Mist Village's strength is extremely weak at this time. Once the Cloud Village finds out the truth, it's very likely that the Mist Village will take the opportunity to become their vassal. If the Mist Village really wants to find an ally in the ninja world, it's very likely that they will choose either Shinobu or the Rock Village. As Naruto's secretary, Hinata had thought about this before. Mei and the other leaders of the village may have already known that their 4th Mizukage was controlled by the Sharingan, and when Yagura was awake, they should have leaked some information. Now it was up to the mist to decide on this matter. Let's go. Asuma looked at the time and said in a deep voice, if Kakashi and the others aren't entangled, they should be rushing to the predetermined location by now. We have to hurry. The group of 4 continued to move forward. 40 minutes later, a few faint sounds of explosions came from the forest. Hinata and Asuma looked at each other and ran towards the direction of the explosion. As he got closer, Hinata could already see the situation in front of him through Byakugan's vision. Gesturing for everyone to stop, Hinata explained, there are 9 people on Kakashi's side, and 3 of them are seriously injured. There are 23 people on the rock side, and 7 of them are injured. From the reaction of chakra, they shouldn't be weak, Asuma said solemnly. No wonder Kakashi asked for help. I didn't expect the rock to send such a force. What do they want? Hinata hurriedly said. Now is not the time to talk about this. Let's go support Kakashi-sensei. Oh right, wait for me. As soon as his voice fell, Hinata condensed chakra fist, and then crazily absorbed natural energy into his body. After 3 or 4 minutes, Hinata entered sage mode. Although his appearance didn't change, Hinata could clearly feel that he was extremely powerful at this time. And as long as he controlled chakra fist to maintain a relatively static state, Hinata could always maintain sage mode. Okay. When he was absorbing natural energy, Hinata had been observing Kakashi and the others with his Byakugan. At this moment he reported, those rock ninjas didn't seem to be in a hurry, they just followed Kakashi-sensei and attacked occasionally. It seems that the rock is indeed planning a conspiracy, Asuma calmly said. Since Kakashi is safe now, we don't need to rush to support them. Ninjas need to calmly analyze and make detailed judgments. The purpose of the rock is obvious. They are waiting for Shinobu's support, and this support. Speaking of this, Asuma turned to Hinata and said, it should be you, Hinata. Judging from the power that the rock prepared for you, they should already know that you are not the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so their goal is likely to be your eyes. As for Shinobu, Asuma couldn't continue. The rock should have just analyzed the information, and came to the conclusion that Shinobu will send Hinata to support Kakashi. Because without Tsunade's order, Hinata wouldn't be sent. But in the meeting that day, Danzo seemed to. What? Suddenly, Hinata frowned and waved her hand towards the ground, sending out an empty palm attack. Bang! The ground burst open, and a rock ninja fell on the ground dead. Asuma's face changed and he said in a solemn voice, when did this person come? Hinata said, just a while ago. Asuma nodded and said, that's good. But the rock has the ability to send ninjas to investigate, their purpose is obvious. Asuma was a little hesitant. He didn't know Hinata's real strength, so he didn't dare to take Hinata to the battlefield. Hinata's significance to Shinobu is not only as the heir of the Hyuga clan, but also as the key to controlling the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. But the explosion just now obviously exposed him. Asuma gritted his teeth and said, let's go. Let's go and meet with Kakashi first. Hinata. Asuma looked at Hinata with a solemn expression and said, if the situation doesn't seem right, you have to return to the village alive no matter what. I will do my best to cover you. Raijin, you have to protect your sister as well. Raijin scratched his head and said innocently, it's time for us to be loyal to our sister Oniai-san. Fujin grinned and said, don't worry. But when we go back, you have to treat us to a big meal. Asuma nodded and took out the flying swallow double blades and said, let's go. As soon as the words fell, Asuma and the others, led by Hinata, quickly approached the direction of Kakashi and the others. Hinata's Byakugan is very powerful, far more powerful than Irubo's. Irubo hasn't found Hinata and the others yet, but Hinata has already figured out the situation between Kakashi and the rock. 500 meters. This is the distance between the two sides. At this distance, it shouldn't affect Kakashi-sensei, right? Hinata secretly analyzed in her heart, preparing to give the rock village a hard time later. You all said that I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and I endured it, but now you dare to plot against me? Today I will let you know what a reincarnated sage is. Otsutsuki Hinata. Chapter 203. Before rushing up, Hinata already had a plan in his mind. As long as he meets the rock ninjas, Hinata will directly use the senjutsu sandbag-size fist. Continuous punch, using all of his chakra in one breath and washing the ground with his big fists. He will let the rock ninjas know what is ruthless, what is cold, and what is unreasonable. However, the cruel society made Hinata realize how big the gap between ideals and reality is. Hinata's previous explosion made the rock ninjas aware. They seemed to have guessed that Shinobu's reinforcements were coming, and they immediately rushed towards Kakashi and the others. In just a few miles, Hinata watched as Kakashi and the others were caught by the rock ninjas, entangled in a chaotic battle. Hinata was so anxious that tears almost flowed out of his eyes. The big move that I had just thought of was useless just like that. However, the actions of the rock ninjas made Hinata and Asuma feel a little confused. If the purpose of the rock ninjas was to wait for Shinobu's reinforcements, then they should directly rush towards Hinata and send a few ninjas to delay Kakashi and the others, instead of ignoring Shinobu's reinforcements and entangling Kakashi and the others. Hinata clearly saw that Kakashi seemed to be the focus of the rock ninjas. Kakashi, who is lacking in mana, can only rely on his rich combat experience to deal with the rock ninjas. Facing the siege of 7 rock ninjas, Kakashi still maintained a stalemate. Although they noticed the abnormality of the rock ninjas, at this time, Hinata and Asuma didn't have time to hesitate. 200 meters. Asuma, sensei. Hinata approached Asuma and said with a dignified face, "You take the wind god and thunder god to support them. I have to prepare something." "Okay." Asuma nodded. "Remember, wait until you see the situation clearly." After that, Asuma took the wind god and thunder god and rushed past Hinata to the battlefield. Hinata stepped on the trunk of a tree and landed on the ground. Taking out the sealing scroll from the ninja tool bag, Hinata opened the scroll and made a hand seal. Then he shouted, "Open!" Boom. In a burst of smoke, the puppet car appeared in front of Hinata. Hinata put the seal scroll back in his bag and drove his car straight to the battlefield. About to participate in the melee of dozens of ninjas, as a descendant of the Otsutsuki clan, how can Hinata not make a flashy appearance? The speed of the puppet car is extremely fast, even on this bumpy road. At full speed, it's almost the same speed as a ninja. It could be seen that Kinjialang was very attentive. Whoosh! Hinata made a sharp turn and stopped the car. The puppet car faced Shinobu and dozens of ninjas. Click. Hinata opened the door. Thump, 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 thump. In the background music, Hinata slowly got out of the car and looked around. He slowly took off the sunglasses on his face, and a faint confident smile appeared on his face as he nodded slightly to the two sides. This appearance was perfect. The music was still playing. Hinata had to get back into the car and turn off the sound. Then he sealed his car back into the scroll. The whole process took about a minute. More than 20 ninjas from the rock village didn't take the opportunity to attack Hinata, and even their movements slowed down a lot. Are you dumbfounded? This is called tactics. Asuma, this is what you want to prepare? A ninja from the rock village shouted, "Stop her!" 3 rock ninjas immediately abandoned their opponents and rushed toward Hinata. Hinata dispelled the chakra fist in order to drive, but he still maintained the sage mode. Seeing the 3 rock ninjas rushing toward him, Hinata immediately condensed the chakra fist and met them without fear. Earth release, earth spear. A rock ninja ran while printing hand seals, and a large number of earth spikes appeared under Hinata's feet. Hinata avoided all the earth spikes with the excellent insight of the Byakugan, but his momentum was also blocked. 2 rock shinobis flanked Hinata from both sides with kunai in their hands. Hinata punched with both fists. 8 trigrams, empty palm. Boom. Boom. The 2 rock ninjas were hit hard, and their bodies stagnated in the air for a moment. Then they flew out like cannonballs, coughing blood, and hit 3 giant trees in a row before stopping. The chakra under Hinata's feet burst out, and his body instantly accelerated toward the last rock ninja. Earth release, earth wall. The rock ninja's hand seals were very fast, and 3 earth walls rose almost instantly, blocking between him and Hinata. Hinata originally wanted to break the wall directly, but in the Byakugan's sight, the rock ninja left an earth clone outside, and the main body went underground to prepare for a sneak attack. Young man, have you never fought with the Byakugan before? It's useless. Hinata leaped into the air and used mountain break on the ground with one hand. The Senjutsu chakra light penetrated the ground in an instant, killing the hidden rock shinobi. The Jonin who gave the order before continued to shout. Her strength is not right. Suzuki Nanlin. Go. Got it. Suzuki and Nanlin broke away from the battle under the cover of their teammates, and quickly rushed toward Hinata. Hinata had already noticed that something was wrong with the rock ninjas. The commanding rock ninja has been fighting with Kakashi, and his moves were fierce and ruthless. There were 6 rock ninjas around him, and it seemed like he was determined to defeat Kakashi. But he was always watching Hinata's battle, and he seemed to be very concerned about Hinata. According to Asuma's previous speculation, the rock ninja's target should be Hinata, but now they have been attacking Kakashi. If the purpose of the rock ninja was to capture Kakashi alive to threaten Hinata, then they should have acted earlier. But these rock ninjas waited until Hinata came to help, and they have been attacking Kakashi, as if they wanted to kill Kakashi. It was as if they were deliberately trying to kill Kakashi in front of Hinata. What is the rock ninja trying to do? Unless Inoki's brain was damaged, otherwise he would never give such an order. But there was no time for Hinata to think about the answer at this moment. 2 rock ninjas rushed up, and they seemed to be jonins of the rock ninjas. Hinata punched with both fists at the same time, and 2 chakra rays directly hit the 2 rock ninjas. Earth release, earth moving core. The ground under his feet rose by 5 or 6 meters, and although Hinata stood firmly, the light of the chakra was so crooked that it didn't even hit a bird, let alone a person. Intelligence is very useful in a ninja battle, as long as you know the opponent's information. Even if the opponent uses a trump card, you can still use the simplest moves to resolve the opponent's attack. Suzuki quickly printed with both hands, looked at Hinata and said coldly, I have been guarding against you for a long time. Chapter 204. Ninja battles are based on information, and the more powerful the ninja, the more information they need to spy on the opponent. Hinata doesn't play by the rules, and he always uses his trump card, so when facing ninjas who are used to testing the opponent first, of course he can take the initiative. In particular, Hinata's attack speed is extremely fast, and the power of his ninjutsu is also very strong. If the opponent can't block Hinata's ultimate move, of course, the only end is death. But if the enemy knows Hinata's information in advance, then there are many ways to restrain Hinata. Using Earth Release. Earth Core to raise the ground is the best way for the rock shinobis. Hinata glanced at the battle between the 2 sides. With the support of Asuma, Raijin and Fujin, Shinobu has temporarily stabilized the situation. The rock shinobis had 23 ninjas, and in the previous battle, 1 of them was killed by Nara Shinobi, and 3 were killed by Hinata, so now there are only 19 ninjas left. When you sent 2 more jonins to drag Hinata, so Shinobu and the rock shinobi have become 12 versus 17. When you led 6 rock shinobi to besiege Kakashi, and in addition to Kakashi's situation, Shinobu suppressed the rock shinobi. However, 3 of Shinobu's Sambu were seriously injured before, and before Hinata and the others came to help, Hyuga Irubo and another Ambu were also seriously injured. In order to protect these 5 people, Asuma and the others can't let go of their hands and feet. Fortunately, the strength of Raijin and Fujin is strong enough, although their brains are not good, and they are often calculated by the opponent. If they use their full strength, even if they are not as good as Tsunade, it will be difficult for the rock shinobis to resist. This little brother didn't lose anything. Hinata instantly judged the situation. In this team battle, Shinobu can win. However, the premise of this winning was that Hinata could quickly deal with her opponent and support Kakashi. Although Kakashi's use of his Sharingan is superb, and with his rich combat experience, he can fight against 7 rock ninjas at the same time. But that's not the case. But Kakashi is too short of mana, and the Sharingan consumes a lot of mana, so he can't hold on for long. Moreover, Kakashi has been fighting with the rock shinobis for several days, and his stamina is almost depleted. The other rock shinobis are actually okay, but the rock shinobis, the commander is very strong, almost no less than Kakashi. Hinata already judged that the purpose of the rock village was to kill Kakashi in front of her. They have already grasped Kakashi's information. They have been entangled with Kakashi for so many days in order to consume Kakashi's physical strength and chakra. But this task shouldn't be this brainless, right? Hinata stood on the protruding rock, looking at the two rock shinobis below, and at the same time he punched 8 trigrams air palm. At the same time, he used 10 air palms to bombard the ground. Even if the enemy has information about Hinata, if they don't have enough ninjutsu, it will be difficult to block Hinata's attack. Suzuki sneered. I said, I have been guarding against you for a long time. Earthquake is the ninjutsu used by the rock shinobis named Nanlin, and Suzuki has been printing since the beginning, and it seems that he has seen through Hinata's next move. Earth release, Earth Rock Dragon. In an instant, a dragon made entirely of earth and stone rose under the feet of Suzuki and Nanlin. Although it was smashed by Hinata's air palms in the blink of an eye, Suzuki and Nanlin used the force of the Earth Dragon to retreat, avoiding Hinata's air palms. At this moment, Nanlin had already formed a seal and shouted, Wind Escape. Tornado Hurricane. Generally, a Jonin can master 2 or more types of chakra attribute changes. Suzuki and Nanlin have been using Earth Release to fight Hinata, and now they suddenly use Wind Release, which really caught Hinata off guard. Although Hinata's fighting rhythm is far better than the average ninja, Suzuki and Nanlin's cooperation is exquisite, alternating the use of ninjutsu, and the interval between 2 ninjutsu is even faster than Hinata's. A huge tornado was formed in an instant, and Hinata was in the middle of it. Although he didn't seem to be hurt by the wind release, the rapid rotation of the tornado almost turned the center of the tornado into a vacuum state. Hinata tried to move, but the centrifugal force formed by the rotation of the tornado greatly limited Hinata's movements, and there seemed to be a very large resistance in the air. Suzuki and Nanlin printed at the same time. Wind release, wind blast. Dozens of wind blades formed in the tornado and slashed towards Hinata from all directions. Hinata began to rotate in the direction of the tornado. Revolving heaven. Under the influence of the tornado, Hinata's rotation speed was very fast, and the Senjutsu chakra in his body instantly broke out, and the diameter of the chakra sphere almost reached about 10 meters. The wind blades were easily blocked by the revolving heaven. Driven by the revolving heaven, the tornado rotated faster and faster. The rotating force of the revolving heaven and the tornado seemed to have some kind of effect, and the tornado expanded rapidly, forming dense wind blades in the blink of an eye, and began to spread in all directions. The sudden change made Suzuki and Nanlin turn pale with fright, and the two simultaneously printed hand seals and shouted, Earth release, Earth flow wall. The two instantly raised 10 earth walls, but under the spreading tornado's wind blades, they were almost instantly broken. Suzuki and Nanlin wanted to escape underground at this moment, but it was too late. Ah! Ah! In the wind, 2 screams came. Under the influence of the revolving heaven, the tornado not only rotated faster, but its attack power was also amazing. In the blink of an eye, Suzuki and Nanlin were cut by the wind blades, and their blood was swept into the air by the wind blades, turning into a blood mist that drowned in the endless storm. Suzuki, Nanlin. Wanya screamed, but he couldn't call back the two's lives. The rest of the rock ninjas were also furious, and they couldn't wait to kill all the Shinobu's ninjas to avenge the death of their comrades. It's too tragic. Their own ninjutsu being used by the enemy should be the most tragic thing for a ninja. Although the tornado under the influence of the revolving heaven is far less powerful than the Raisin Shuriken, it's not something 2 jonins can easily resist. Unless a ninja has mastered a special secret technique, even if they reach the Kage level, they are still flesh and blood. This change was extremely sudden, and Suzuki and Nanlin didn't expect that the collision of the tornado and the revolving heaven would cause such an accident. After a while, the tornado stopped, and Suzuki and Nanlin were cut into pieces by the wind blades, and there wasn't a piece of good flesh on their bodies. Hinata stood on the rock that rose from the earthquake core, and looked in the direction of Kakashi, and said in his heart, "We won." At this moment, unless the rock ninjas siege Kakashi to drag Hinata, they will lose. But even if they send ninjas to drag Hinata, what can they do? How long can they drag Hinata? From the attack, driving, and fighting until now, Hinata's chakra has been consumed by less than 20%. But Suzuki and Nanlin's series of ninjutsu combo has consumed more than half of their chakra. Even if the tornado hadn't changed, Hinata would have been able to drag them to death. After this battle, Hinata also had a clear understanding of his combat effectiveness. Facing an ordinary jonin in sage mode, even if Hinata just stood there and let them hit him, the one who will die of exhaustion will be Hinata's opponent. After all, not everyone's chakra is called chakra. But facing a ninja like Jiraiya, Hinata can't do anything. And under normal circumstances, even if Hinata could win against the two rock ninjas, it would take a lot of effort. Chapter 205. I didn't expect Hinata's strength to be so strong. Seeing the defeat of the rock, Wenye's heart was very sad. He couldn't understand why the Tsuchikage suddenly changed the order. In the beginning, Wenye received the same order as Kakashi, to enter the water country to test the mist's attitude. Wenye didn't lead a large team, including him, there were only 4 people. But before arriving at the water country, Wenye suddenly received a ninja eagle from the rock village. The letter was written by Inoki, and it had the seal of the Tsuchikage. In the letter, Inoki asked Wenye to change the mission from testing the mist's attitude to killing Hatake Kakashi in front of Hinata. The letter involved a lot of information, and it also mentioned that Wenye should act with the Cloud Ninjas. In just half a day after Wenye received the letter, 6 or 7 rock ninjas came to join him. At first, Wenye didn't question Inoki's order. After all, Hinata's identity was special, and it was understandable that Inoki planned an operation against Hinata. However, the mission only mentioned killing Kakashi, but not Hinata. This was Wenye's first question. However, this order was personally issued by Inoki, and after receiving it, Wenye immediately made a corresponding battle plan. Since he wanted to kill Kakashi in front of Hinata, he had to weaken Kakashi's stamina and chakra before Hinata arrived. Wenye led the rock ninjas to fight against Kakashi for a few days. Shinobu lost 3 people, and the rock ninjas lost 5. The reason why Wenye began to question Inoki was that Hinata's strength was too amazing. Hinata was so strong that even Wenye did not have the confidence to exchange a few blows with Hinata. Did Inoki give such an order because he misjudged Hinata's strength? Or did he have other plans and just sent them to test Hinata's true strength? Wenye had met Hinata not long ago, but Hinata had borrowed Ninetail's chakra, so Wenye could not determine Hinata's true strength. But now, it seemed that Hinata's strength was much stronger than the last time they met. Moreover, the Cloud Ninjas have yet to appear. Wenye didn't know if the Cloud Village broke the agreement, or if they were delayed halfway. However, there was no time for Wenye to think about this. Retreat. You guys go first, I'll cover you. Wenye made a retreat gesture and personally dragged Kakashi to buy time for the rest of the rock ninjas to retreat. Kakashi and Asuma did not seem to have any intention to intercept the rock ninjas. Many of Shinobu's team were seriously injured, and Kakashi was almost exhausted. He didn't have much chakra left. Asuma, Raijin, and Fujin were in a slightly better state, but they still had to stay to protect the injured ninjas. Hinata's eyes moved slightly. Wenye and the others' retreat was not beyond Hinata's expectation. Why didn't they run? Did they want to stay and wait for death? However, in Hinata's Byakugan, she found herself surrounded by a large number of mist ninjas. The leader of the mist ninjas was the Mizukage, and there were more than 100 Anbu and Jonin. For the time being, Hinata couldn't guess the purpose of Mei's visit. Was it to stop the fight, or was it to stop Shinobu and the rock ninjas? But no matter what the purpose of the mist was, Hinata didn't intend to let these rock ninjas go. The peace of the ninja world is not a matter of retreat. If you don't have enough strength, others won't care about what you think. Hinata moved his feet and quickly chased after the rock ninjas. Kakashi saw this and quickly shouted, "Hinata, don't chase. We need to rest." "I'm not chasing." Hinata replied to Kakashi, but his feet didn't stop. Wenye and the others didn't run far. They just retreated, and Hinata already chased after them. And in order not to affect Kakashi, Hinata deliberately let the rock ninjas run 39 meters first. Hinata! Asuma shouted and quickly chased after Hinata. Hinata stepped on the trunk of a tree and jumped into the air. Using the short time in the air, his two big fists were constantly waving. Every time Hinata punched, a chakra fist bombarded the rock ninjas like a cannonball. Chakra fist as big as a sandbag. Continuous punch because he still had to face the mist ninjas. Hinata didn't dare to use up all the chakra, but only half of the chakra was enough for Hinata to punch more than 20 times. Boom 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 boom. Violent explosions rang out incessantly. Large swaths of trees were uprooted one after another. Even the boulders were blown to smithereens. The fleeing rock ninjas were mercilessly bombarded by Hinata. They didn't even have time to scream before they were swallowed and buried by the endless explosions. The earth trembled, the mountains and rivers shook, and the shock wave formed by the explosion swept in all directions. Asuma didn't even get close to Hinata, and was pushed back by the shock wave formed by the explosion. Hinata shouted, "Pegasus Meteor Punch!" Boom. When the last explosion stopped, the earth was already destroyed by Hinata. More than 20 craters were formed within a few hundred meters, and even the ground was shaved off by the shock wave of the explosion. Shinobu was stunned. What happened to not chasing after him? Ta. Hinata landed on the ground and blew his small fist. He was very satisfied with the effect he caused this time. He believed that after this lesson, if Inoki doesn't want to fight with Shinobu directly, he shouldn't target him anymore, right? With the current strength of the Rock Village, unless Inoki or his Jinchuriki personally acts, they won't be able to defeat Hinata. As for the war between the two villages, before he can crack the way Hinata can share the Nine Tails chakra, Inoki won't dare to start a war. The most important thing is that Inoki won't admit that he sent ninjas to sneak into the land of water. The friendship between ninja villages is useless to rely on compromise. After all, there are decades of hatred between shinobi villages, and others won't let you go just because you pretend to be pitiful. Only by showing strong strength to deter the opponent can they not act rashly. Kakashi walked to Hinata and looked at the mess in front of him, and said helplessly, "Hinata, you are too reckless." Hinata snorted softly. "It's the rock village that is too reckless." Asuma came over and looked at Kakashi and asked, "Kakashi, did you find any abnormalities in the land of water?" Kakashi looked up at the sky, and after a moment he said weakly, "How should I say it? The rock village seems to have a lot of problems." Kakashi actually guessed something in his heart, but Hinata was still there, so Kakashi couldn't say anything. Hinata had to remind them, "Kakashi-sensei, Asuma-sensei. We have been surrounded by mist ninjas. There are more than 100 of them, and the Mizukage is also there." Chapter 206. When you notice that others are looking at you, you're also looking at them. If Mei wants to change the Mist Village, it's impossible for her to jump out of the 5 great villages. In the past few years, although the other 4 villages have signed a truce agreement, only Shinobu and the Sand became allies. The Rock Village has been low-key these years, but the Cloud Village has been constantly expanding their military and collecting ninjutsu. Mei chose to take the initiative to expose some information to attract other villages to send teams to investigate the water country. She wanted to use this method to investigate the other villages' attitude towards the mist. Before each team leaves, the Kage of each village will tell them something. So by observing the behavior of the investigation teams, it's not difficult to see the attitude of the other villages towards the mist. The conflict between the Rock Village and Shinobu was beyond Mei's expectation. This behavior of both sides actually constituted a provocation to the mist. Mei originally intended to mediate and resolve the conflict between the two villages. At the same time, through this behavior, she conveyed a message of goodwill to Shinobu and the Rock Village. However, after investigating, Mei found that the Rock Village's attitude was very ambiguous. It seemed that they were planning a conspiracy. Although the Rock Village took the initiative to provoke the conflict, they have been delaying Shinobu instead of directly killing them. So Mei chose to wait and see how the conflict between Shinobu and the Rock Village evolves, and at the same time, investigate the purpose of the Rock Village. Inoki is a veteran Kage. Even if he's old, it's absolutely impossible for him to be so senile. attacking Konoha's shinobi in the land of water. Inoki is not only challenging Konoha, but also challenging the authority of the mist. So when Mei received the information that the cloud sent a large number of ninjas to sneak into the water country, she decisively sent the Umbu to intercept. The reason for the interception was that there was internal turmoil in the water country. Hinata's previous judgment that the mist had no intention to ally with the cloud was correct, but Mei couldn't do it so obviously. Openly boycotting the cloud was like slapping Reikich's face in public. After sending the Umbu to intercept the cloud ninjas, Mei personally led a large number of mist ninjas, intending to arrest Shinobu and the rock ninjas for the crime of destroying the security of the water country, and at the same time, investigate the rock village's purpose of provoking Shinobu. Far away, Mei heard the explosion in front of her and immediately urged, "Hurry up, Shinobu and the rock ninjas are already fighting." Mei had a headache. If this matter is not handled well, the mist will easily cause the hostility of the other major villages. If it was during the Blood Mist era, the mist would have killed everyone on both sides to warn the ninja world that the mist's authority can't be challenged. Mei's plan may maze the mists and the rock ninjas. Therefore, the conflict between Shinobu and the rock ninjas is also an opportunity for Mei to show the mist's different side to the world. Ao jumped to Mei's side and observed with his Byakugan while reporting. Mizukichi-sama, Shinobu and the rock ninjas are fighting each other, and Shinobu seems to have reinforcements. So the purpose of the rock ninjas? Terumi Mei nodded slightly. Her charming eyes stared into the distance, and a trace of unhappiness flashed in her eyes. These foreigners are really good at causing trouble. After a pause, Ao suddenly said, "They stopped. The rock ninjas were defeated, and they have begun to retreat." Mei was puzzled. The rock ninjas lost? Ao nodded with a dignified face, and his forehead was sweating. That girl's chakra. It's as terrible as a bijou. Mei tidied her hair and chuckled. Is that so? This reminds me of someone. Having a large amount of chakra doesn't necessarily mean that she's strong. The key is what kind of ninjutsu she has mastered. Especially at Mei's level, having a large amount of chakra is a good thing. But in fact, it doesn't prove anything. Killing. As long as she can hit the enemy, one move is enough. Ao's face changed dramatically, and his tone was a little panicked. No, she's different from that person. Mei looked at Ao and said with a little surprise, "What's wrong with you? Did you find anything amazing?" Ao shook his head and said solemnly, "I don't know, but Mei and Ao didn't know about the existence of Sage Mode, and Ao's Byakugan level wasn't high. At most, he saw some abnormalities when Hinata attacked." Ao continued to observe the battle and frowned. Judging from the chakra in her eyes, that girl should be a shinobu from the Hyuga clan. Oh. Terumi Mei didn't care much about this. Although the Hyuga clan's reputation is great, except for the Byakugan, they are only a ninja clan of taijutsu school. Terumi Mei didn't care much. Boom. 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 A deafening explosion came from afar. From Terumi Mei's point of view, a few miles away, a radius of hundreds of meters was instantly submerged by the explosion, and the shock wave formed by the explosion even spread farther away. The giant trees and rocks were almost instantly turned into powder, and the earth was in a mess. Terumi Mei suddenly stopped and said, It's not that Terumi Mei hasn't seen a large area of effect ninjutsu, but the large attack range of ninjutsu doesn't mean that the destructive power is necessarily strong. Just like the Great Waterfall Jutsu, the attack range is large enough, but it can't even kill people. The essence of this technique was to use chakra to control a large amount of water to attack the enemy. The attack range was very large, but its power was actually very limited. However, the magnitude of the explosion just now. Even the ground that was so far away was trembling violently. Huff, huff, huff. A gust of wind blew. Terumi Mei stretched out her hand to resist, and her face became extremely dignified. Ao. Ao jumped to Terumi Mei's side and said with a dignified face, "It's the ninja from the Hyuga family just now. According to the information we collected, if there is someone in the Hyuga clan who can do this, there should be only one person." Terumi Mei said in a deep voice, "Nine-Tails Jinchuriki Hinata Hinata?" Terumi Mei's eyes narrowed slightly, and she said coldly, Shinobu actually sent a Jinchuriki over? Ao shook his head and said, "This is not the power of a tailed beast, it should be some kind of ninjutsu." This was good news, but at the same time, it was also bad news. Hinata's strength may be more terrible than the rumors about her to create this kind of explosion with her own strength. Terumi Mei has received the news that several of the 7 ninja swordsmen who defected from the village, Momochi Zabuza and Kurosawa Rei, have died in the hands of Hinata. Even the dried persimmon mackerel fell in the hands of Hinata. She heard that even the mackerel muscle was lost to Shinobu. Ao turned his head to look at Terumi Mei, cold sweat dripping down his forehead, and said in a deep voice, "Rock Village has been wiped out. Mizuki-sama, do I need to leave?" Chapter 207. In the open space of the forest, Hinata took out a tablecloth and threw it on the ground, eating happily with Raijin and Fujin. For the first time, Hinata felt that his 2 younger brothers weren't in vain. Although they usually eat a lot, they are very reliable at the critical moment. Moreover, when he was in Shinobu, Hinata already cleaned up Raijin and Fujin. In general, as long as Hinata is present, the enemy can't lure them with food. Jinin was healing the injured Shinobu ninjas. Kakashi and Asuma sneaked to the side and seemed to be discussing something important. And they deliberately avoided Hinata. Hinata didn't want to listen. After a while, hundreds of mist shinobis surrounded Hinata and the others. Mei was in the middle of a group of mist shinobis, and her charming face had a hint of coldness. Shinobu and the Rock Village were fighting in the water country, and obviously, they didn't put the mist in their eyes. Hinata looked up at Mei. She was worthy of the legendary woman who could compete with Tsunade. Her strength was really strong. Unlike Tsunade's forthright personality, Mei's whole body exuded a seductive aura. Hinata took big mouthfuls of food to hide the restlessness in her heart. Kakashi and Asuma came over and looked around, and finally fixed their eyes on Mei. Kakashi first said, "Are you the 5th Mizuki-sama of the Mist Village?" Terumi Mei looked at Kakashi playfully and teased him. "Hataki Kakashi. Just like the rumors, even with a mask, you have an unusual charm." "But how do you know that I'm the Mizuki?" Kakashi. Turning to look at Hinata, Kakashi heard Hinata say that the Mizuki was also here. So he recognized Mei. Now even Kakashi was a little confused. How did Hinata recognize the Mizuki? It's reasonable to say that Hinata shouldn't have seen Mei before, and Mei didn't wear the Kage's hat. Stupid. Hinata swallowed the food in his mouth and said ruthlessly, "Among the ninjas who don't wear a forehead protector, besides the Ambu, there should be only one Kage." A trace of embarrassment flashed on Mei's face, and then she said in a cold voice, "You trespassed into the land of water, fought with people in the land of water, and destroyed the security of the land of water. Konoha, do you have anything to say?" Mei was the type that even if her tone was cold, it still made people feel soft. Hinata reminded loudly, "Kakashi-sensei, you have to be careful. Don't fall for the beauty trap of the mist." Kakashi has been single for so many years. Hinata was really worried about Kakashi. Suddenly seeing such a beautiful woman, Hinata was really worried that Kakashi wouldn't be able to control himself, and would be seduced by Mei. Humph. This coquettish slut from another village actually dared to seduce Kakashi-sensei. Mei looked at Hinata with murderous eyes. This little girl is really annoying. Kakashi scratched his head and helplessly explained, "I'm sorry. We came to the water country to perform a mission, but suddenly we were chased by unknown ninjas. We Shinobu are very sorry for the damage caused to the water country." Mei looked around a few times. Unknown identity? Indeed, the ninjas of the Rock Village were all dead, and some of the corpses have been properly disposed of. Saying that their identity is unknown can indeed help Shinobu avoid some trouble. As long as Shinobu doesn't admit it, the Rock Village can't hold Shinobu responsible. Moreover, saying that their identity is unknown can also avoid the Mist's accountability. Mei faintly said, "I didn't expect that there would be a group of unknown ninjas in the water country. As the Mizuki of the Mist, I can't shirk my responsibility. I don't know if Shinobu can help us investigate this matter?" Hinata immediately bit back. "Maybe those ninjas are from the Mist. I don't want to cooperate with the investigation. Kakashi had already agreed with Hinata that he would be responsible for mediating the conflict with the mist, and Hinata would be responsible for playing the bad guy, fully utilizing Hinata's personality advantage. Hinata almost killed Kakashi on the spot. What do you mean playing the bad guy suits my personality? I, Otsutsuki Hinata, have a gentle, kind, and weak personality. To be honest, you really need to be careful in the ninja world. Kakashi, you'd better be honest with me. Hinata. Kakashi turned his head and then explained to Mei. Shinobu is willing to cooperate with the investigation, but my companions have been seriously injured and must go back to the village for treatment. After returning to Shinobu, I will report this matter to Mizuki-sama. Please forgive me. Mei didn't pay attention to Kakashi and looked at Hinata. She was already unhappy with Hinata, who provoked her many times. Are you Hinata? I have heard about you before. Hinata looked at Kakashi with a blank expression and asked, Kakashi-sensei, do you want to kill her? She knows too much. Kakashi put his hand on his forehead. His head hurts. Who gave you the courage to say that you want to kill the Mizuki in front of more than 100 mist shinobis in the land of water? And Terumi Mei only said your name. Is that what you call knowing too much? What kind of secret is hidden in your name? Sure enough, as soon as Hinata's voice fell, a group of mist ninjas stood in front of Mei and looked at Hinata with vigilance. Kakashi helplessly explained. Mizuki-sama, Hinata's personality has always been like this. Please don't take it to heart. Ha ha ha. Mei smiled strangely and said, It doesn't matter, I won't lower myself to the same level as a little girl. But I don't know why, from the first time I saw her, I felt disgusted. Maybe it's because the same sex repel each other. Hinata turned to look at Mei and said seriously, The same sex repel each other is common sense. This is not terrible. The terrible thing is, the opposite sex repel each other. 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 This was the only word left in Mei's mind. For someone who was nearly 30 years old and still couldn't get married, all words related to marriage were taboo. Mei's mouth twitched as she gritted her teeth and said, I will kill you. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Shinobu and the mist instantly confronted each other, and the situation was very tense for a while. However, Mei, Kakashi, and Hinata weren't too worried. Mei had the advantage of numbers, and this was the home of the mist, so she could call for support at any time. So no matter how the situation developed, Mei wasn't particularly worried. Kakashi, on the other hand, roughly judged Mei's character through the conversation just now. As for Hinata, after eating just now, Hinata's chakra had recovered a bit, and after eating a few soldier food pills, his chakra was now 80% recovered. Hinata felt that the Mist Village's people were just a few Joker Kings. Chapter 208. Mei's eyes narrowed as she observed Kakashi's attitude. She had roughly judged Shinobu's attitude towards the mist. Shinobu obviously didn't reject the mist, and his attitude was relatively friendly. If this is Shinobu's position, then the mist will have an easier time. Regardless of whether they form an alliance or not, at least the mist won't be targeted by Shinobu when they contact the outside world. However, Mei was more interested in Hinata than Kakashi. Mei had read the information about Hinata. Hinata was different from Yagura. Although Yagura was small, he was already an adult. But Hinata was only 12 years old this year. At this age, he had such powerful strength. This simply refreshed Mei's worldview. It's not that there are no geniuses in the ninja world. Mei herself was a genius. Shinobu's Hatake Kakashi was a genius ninja. His fame was even greater than Mei's. Even in the mist, there were some legends about Kakashi. During the Third World War, the mist sent dozens of Umbu and Jonin to chase Kakashi and Noera Rin, but in the end, they were killed by Kakashi alone. That battle shook the entire mist village. But now it seems that Kakashi's strength is obviously different from the rumors. Otherwise, those who chased Shinobu would have been killed by Kakashi alone. On the contrary, Hinata really surprised Mei. The explosion just now didn't seem like the power of a ninja. It's not that there are no ninjas in the ninja world who have the ability to cause such an attack, but the attack range is the same. It doesn't mean the attack power is the same. It's like hitting someone with a wooden hammer and hitting someone with an iron hammer. The damage caused by the two is completely different. Hinata sat on the ground and ate with the two fat men. Mei asked with a little interest. Hinata, you seem to be very nervous about Kakashi. Why, is he the person you like? Bah. Hinata looked at Mei with a face full of blame and said with dissatisfaction. What are you talking about? Kakashi, sensei watched me grow up and accompanied me. I respect him as much as I respect my teacher. Well, it's like Orochimaru's feelings for Naruto of 3 generations. Hinata added, not hiding her killing intent for Kakashi. Kakashi massaged his temples. Was he really being hated by them again? How many meals do I have to treat this time? Mei sneered, of course. She knew about the relationship between Orochimaru and Naruto of 3 generations. She glanced at Kakashi again. These two are really interesting. Mei adjusted her expression and said indifferently, since Shinobu has been seriously injured, why don't you come to the mist for treatment? Kakashi faintly refused. Thank you Mizuki-sama for your kindness, but Naruto-sama is waiting for us to go back and report the mission. We don't need to bother Mizuki-sama. Mei's face was cold as she said in a deep voice. Konoha doesn't want to give face to the mist. Or do you think that our treatment conditions are not as good as Shinobu's? Kakashi glanced sideways at Hinata. It's your turn. Hinata sighed helplessly in her heart. Sure enough, I was forced to be a bad person. I'm actually a very obedient child. That. Hinata hesitated as he looked at Mei and asked, do you really like Kakashi-sensei? I'm telling you, Kakashi-sensei isn't a decent person. He often hides and peeks at porn. Have you heard of Intimate Paradise? It's the book written by Jiraiya-sama. I heard that it's very popular in the ninja world. Kakashi. Hinata was secretly proud. He finally got revenge for Kakashi's humiliation last time, and also indirectly promoted Jiraiya's book. When Jiraiya and Naruto returned to the village, he must ask Jiraiya to treat him to a meal. With Hinata's jesting, the topic just now was over. Kakashi faintly said, we still have to report the mission to Naruto-sama. As for the trip to the Mist Village, we'll talk about it later. Mei looked at Kakashi and said coldly, in that case, I ask Shinobu to leave the water country as soon as possible. However, I will also send a letter to Naruto-sama to ask about the damage you've caused to the water country. Kakashi heaved a sigh of relief. Mei was the Mizuki. Even if she wasn't prepared to do anything to Shinobu, she still had to express her attitude in front of the Mist Ninjas. As for the so-called letter to Naruto, it seemed to be for accountability, but wasn't this the beginning of the communication between Shinobu and the Mist? Although there were many twists and turns in the mission this time, it could be considered to have been completed satisfactorily. Thank you Mizuki-sama for your understanding. Mei nodded slightly, waved her hand, and retreated with the Mist Ninjas. Asma sighed, lit a cigarette, and said in a relaxed tone, things are finally over, let's go back as soon as possible. Jinnin also bandaged the wounds of the injured Shinobu ninjas and said, their injuries have stabilized and it won't affect the rest of the journey. Kakashi nodded and said, well, let's leave immediately. In the ruins of the battle between Shinobu and the rock village, Zetsu slowly drilled half of his body from the ground. It seems that we all underestimated the strength of Hinata, and there's a problem with the Cloud Village, Black Zetsu said in a low voice. In that case, let's start from the inside of Shinobu. White Zetsu said. Tsunade is the successor of the 5th generation. She's not the same as the 3 generation. She won't compromise so easily. Black Zetsu said. I didn't expect Danzo to do anything. Hyuga and Uchiha are different. But Shinobu's 9 tails belongs to us after all. White Zetsu said leisurely. Yes. That was Sage Mode, right? I didn't expect Hinata to learn this trick. Black Zetsu said. I'm not worried about this. But her Byakugan, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu weren't good at fighting, and Hinata had fully grown up. Without using the power of the organizations, it would be difficult to take action against Hinata. However, although the plan failed this time, it could be regarded as testing Hinata's trump card. However, as Black Zetsu was worried, since Hinata showed signs of atavism, then Hinata's Byakugan is very likely to reach the level of Otsutsuki Kagaya. Just like the Manjikyu Sharingan, the Byakugan can evolve again and have some special abilities. After a moment of silence, Black Zetsu said coldly, even if Hinata's Byakugan evolved, there's still a huge gap between it and Nagato's eyes. Next time, our target will be the Hyuga clan. We'll use Nagato's power. White Zetsu said faintly, yes. This time, we used Madara's trump card in Cloud and Rock Village. Although the plan was implemented, it will alert the Cloud and Rock villages. Next, we have to finish the work. After that, Zetsu slowly sank into the ground. Chapter 209. At the dock of the water country, Hinata's group of 13 boarded the ship. Kakashi walked to the deck and looked into the distance. Hinata leaned over and asked with a puzzled face, Kakashi-sensei, are you still thinking about the Mizukage? Actually, I think you guys are a good match. The Mizukage looks about the same age as you. He's good-looking and strong, and he's also the boss of the Mist Village. Kakashi-sensei, if you don't want unrequited love, you really have to work hard in the future. Kakashi glanced sideways at Hinata. So, after talking for so long, your real purpose is to despise me in the last sentence? Hinata, when you reach my age, if you still can't get married, you will understand my thoughts. Hinata. So your idea is to muddle along one day at a time? Okay. In fact, Hinata's current idea is the same as Kakashi's, muddling along one day at a time. After the end of the Fourth Shinobi World War, if Orochimaru doesn't die like in the manga, Hinata intends to find Orochimaru and get Boruto and Sunflower out. This can also be regarded as an explanation for the Hyuga family. In fact, from Hinata's standpoint, Hinata's idea of resealing Otsutsuki Kagaya is not particularly strong. Hinata also wants to follow Otsutsuki Kagaya to plant trees all over the universe and become the universe's green ambassador. However, the premise is that Otsutsuki Kagaya can give up the infinite Tsukuyomi plan, and on this basis, seek common ground while reserving differences, and build a beautiful home for the shinobi world. The other Otsutsuki clan members planted trees with their own ability, and Hinata also relied on his own ability. Everyone relied on their own ability, and Hinata didn't feel ashamed of himself. If Hinata could hold Otsutsuki Kagaya's thigh, then it wouldn't be a problem to hand over the Hyuga family to Hanabi. Hanabi inherited the main family to manage the Hyuga clan. Hinata followed Otsutsuki Kagaya to do greenery all over the universe, and as a member of the Hyuga clan, he shocked the ninja world. This model would allow the Hyuga family to prosper for a long time. Of course, if Otsutsuki Kagaya doesn't know what's good for her, Hinata can only consider resealing her. Then he would settle for the next best thing, being a Naruto consultant in Shinobu and continue his life. These were two completely different futures. Hinata was actually leaning towards the first option, because this future is tantamount to putting the entire universe in front of Hinata, instead of being limited to a small ninja world. No matter how the ninja world develops, at best, there are two kinds of peace and war. From Hinata's point of view, peace and war had always been alternating. When everyone is tired of war, the ninja world will move towards peace, and then under the push of ambitious people, war will be triggered again. Once the development of the ninja world transitions from a ninja civilization to a technological civilization, there will inevitably be a war between ninja and technological forces. Seeing the vast sky, the small shinobi world didn't have much attraction for Hinata anymore. The only fetters are nothing more than the Hyuga family and some friends of Shinobu. However, although Hinata's idea is good, if there is no one to lead him, it will be difficult for Hinata to get out of the ninja world, let alone enter the universe. Hinata decided to find time to test Black Zetsu's attitude to see if there is a possibility of the two sides joining forces. Black Zetsu is the will of Otsutsuki Kagaya, and Otsutsuki Kagaya has absolute trust in Black Zetsu. Including his own resurrection, Otsutsuki Kagaya put all his hopes on Black Zetsu. Therefore, to a certain extent, Black Zetsu can affect Otsutsuki Kagaya's will. Moreover, Black Zetsu has lived in the ninja world for thousands of years, and Black Zetsu's knowledge is much higher than Otsutsuki Kagaya's. Convincing Black Zetsu may be easier than convincing Otsutsuki Kagaya. Give me a lever, and I can tilt the earth. Archimedes. For Hinata, Black Zetsu is a lever that can pry the structure of the ninja world. Hinata felt that he seems to be developing the trend of the big boss behind the scenes of the ninja world. Have I really become dark? Yes, this is all Danzo's fault. Throwing the blame to Danzo with a clear conscience, Hinata adjusted his mood. Following Kakashi's gaze, Hinata wondered, Kakashi-sensei, what are you looking at? Kakashi said indifferently, he's here. Woof woof. Parker ran from a distance, his 4 short legs moved quickly, and jumped on the boat, stretched out his front paw and said hello. Yo! Kakashi. Hinata-chan, long time no see. You seem to have grown a lot recently. Hinata leaned over and grabbed Parker, lifted him up high, and said with a face full of disgust, if it weren't for the fact that you look disgusting, I would have eaten you. Parker was fearless. Thank you very much. Kakashi asked, Parker, what did you find? Parker said lightly, the cloud had a total of 32 people, and they were blocked by the mist at the border of the water country, but there was no conflict between the two sides. After the end of our battle with the rock, the cloud withdrew from the water country. Kakashi said softly, thank you for your hard work. Parker ignored Kakashi, looked down at Hinata and said, Hinata-chan, I will come and play with you next time. Boom. In a puff of smoke, Parker disappeared. Kakashi walked over to the Umbu who was operating the boat and said, you can set sail now. Ugh. Hinata sighed and sat down with his back against the edge of the boat. Maybe this is the difference between a Jonin and a Chunin. In the previous battle with the rock, Hinata was thinking about supporting Kakashi as soon as possible. But Kakashi, in a dangerous situation, hid from everyone's eyes and ears and sent a dog to inquire about the Cloud Village. The difference was obvious. No matter what speculations people make about the purpose of the Cloud Hidden Village, it won't be better than personally investigating. Now at least one thing is certain. The Cloud sent 32 ninjas to sneak into the water country, and their purpose was definitely not to inquire about the mist. If the Cloud Hidden Village joined forces with them, Inoki's order would not seem so brainless. However, the rock and the Cloud didn't seem to have reached an agreement. At least the Cloud was ahead of the rock in terms of time. For this incident, the rock could only swallow their anger because Inoki didn't have any position to blame Shinobu. The relationship between the rock and Shinobu changed from neutral to cold. But because the mist changed their previous policy, Shinobu and the mist started to communicate through this incident. Terumi didn't want to cause trouble for the mist, so she chose to intercept the Cloud and led the mist to mediate the conflict between Shinobu and the rock. But because of Hinata's action, the rock was completely wiped out. From this point of view, the mist had no other choice except for Shinobu. With Reiki's strength and Inoki's cunning, it was difficult for them to recognize the mist in a short time. Therefore, from a diplomatic point of view, Hinata's action of destroying the rock ninjas wasn't without benefits. Chapter 210. After we entered the water country, we were chased by a team of rock ninjas led by Bunya. How should I put it? For now, it seems that Shinobu is the only choice left for the mist. The mission this time can be considered completed successfully. In Naruto's office, Kakashi, as the team leader of this mission, finished the mission report. Tsunade was expressionless the whole time. Although Tsunade could understand the whole process of this mission through the mission report, Kakashi's attitude still made her feel a little uncomfortable. He's asking for a beating. Everyone has worked hard. Go back and have a good rest. Yes. Everyone left Naruto's office. Hinata and Jinin stayed to help Tsunade deal with the village's official affairs. Tsunade picked up the mission report and looked at it. Behind the water country incident, there were extremely complicated international relations. The Cloud and the rock seemed to have reached an agreement. Their purpose was to get Hinata's Byakugan. At least on the surface, that was the case. But the Cloud was one step late. It seemed that they wanted to sit back and watch the battle between Shinobu and the rock, and then reap the benefits. However, the sudden intervention of the mist led to the collapse of the Cloud's plan. The The Rock Village also paid a heavy price because they underestimated Hinata's strength, and their entire army was wiped out. From this incident, two things can be seen. First, there are still contradictions between the Cloud and the Rock. After this incident, it's inevitable that the two villages will suspect each other, and there's almost no possibility of an alliance. Second, in order to resolve the conflict between the three villages, Terumi may sent the Umbu to intercept the Cloud, and finally, she personally intervened to mediate the conflict between Shinobu and the Rock. If Terumi Mei's plan was successful, she could even facilitate the four-party talks and let the mist appear in front of the ninja world with a new face. However, Hinata's action of destroying the Rock ninjas made all of Mei's plans fail. That's why Terumi Mei felt that Hinata was very annoying. The Rock shinobi died in the Water Country, and the Cloud Village was intercepted by the Mist Village. The Mist Village offended two villages at once. Perhaps in Inoki's view, one of the reasons for the destruction of the Rock shinobis was the Mist intercepting the Cloud. Therefore, in a short period of time, the Mist only had one choice: Konoha. Choosing Shinobu was equivalent to choosing the alliance between Shinobu and Sand Hideout. This was good news for Shinobu. And in the mission report, Kakashi and the other Jonins collectively believed that the Mist under Mei's rule was more credible than the Cloud and the Rock. However, under the joy of Shinobu's victory, the situation in the Shinobu world still has hidden dangers. Perhaps Hinata's Byakugan was the prerequisite for the Cloud and the Rock to join forces, but Bunya's target was Kakashi. Kakashi was Hinata's former Jonin, and his identity may have a certain value. But Kakashi's value can only be reflected if Hinata doesn't personally appear. If the Rock and the Cloud's goal was Hinata's Byakugan, since Hinata has already appeared, why would they still besiege Kakashi? Tsunade wanted to ask Inoki and I because there were too many doubts in their orders. But this question is tantamount to admitting that Shinobu's action of destroying the Rock. The result is likely to be a direct confrontation between the Rock and Shinobu. So Tsunade can't ask, even if she has a lot of doubts in her heart. She can only secretly investigate through Shinobu's power. As long as Shinobu and the Mist don't admit the Rock's matter, Inoki can't even fart. Hinata stood behind Tsunade and saw all the contents of the mission report, including the things that Kakashi and Asuma discussed secretly and deliberately avoided Hinata. Humph! These two idiots, don't they know that I, Hinata, am Naruto's secretary? Still want to hide it from me? Kakashi believes that there is still a hidden force in the ninja world, and they intend to use Hinata's Byakugan to provoke the hostility between the 5 major ninja villages to achieve their own hidden goals. And the purpose of this force seems to be to lure Hinata into the darkness, or to be hostile to Shinobu and the structure of the ninja world. Kakashi used this as the basis of his judgment, and guessed that Hinata may have a more special ability hidden in his body. Hinata's Byakugan is indeed very strong, far beyond the ordinary ninja of the Hyuga family. Even Hyogo can't be compared with Hinata. The ordinary Byakugan's abilities are embodied in 3 points: Farsight, X-ray, and Insight. But Hinata's Byakugan can see through the seal in the body of a Jinchuriki, and see the tailed beasts inside. Many people are confused by this appearance, and simply think that Hinata's Byakugan is very strong. But if further analysis, how can Hinata cooperate with 9 tails? Hinata's Byakugan is actually the same as a Jinchuriki. A Jinchuriki can also communicate with the tailed beasts inside the seal. However, 9 Tails' recognition of Hinata is different. It can almost be said that he listens to everything. Therefore, Kakashi believes that Hinata's own particularity is actually greater than the particularity of Hinata's Byakugan. Tsunade put the mission report on the desk, turned the chair to look at Hinata, and asked, after reading Kakashi's analysis, "Do you have anything to say?" Hinata said in a daze, "I didn't expect Kakashi-sensei to know me so well. What does he usually think?" Hinata shuddered, always feeling that Kakashi's thoughts are very unhealthy. Tsunade heard Jiraiya's report that Hinata used the spiritual energy contained in chakra to let each other understand each other's thoughts by touching fists with 9 tails, and obtained the approval of 9 tails. This seems to be very simple. But Naruto also went to the sewer where 9 tails was sealed, and wanted to touch fists with 9 tails. But 9 tails didn't raise his head and said one word: "Get lost." So there must be something special about Hinata. Hinata scratched his face, and suddenly a thought flashed in his mind, exclaiming, "Could it be because I fought 9 tails?" Tsunade was dumbfounded. "You fought 9 tails?" Hinata nodded. "Yes. It was in the 3rd round of the Chunin exam, the battle between me and Naruto. Naruto used 9 tails as chakra in the battle, and I used the power of the Byakugan to find the flaw in the seal and saw 9 tails as chakra. But at that time, I was still fighting, so I used the technique of acupuncture points to attack 9 tails through the flaw in the seal. 9 tails seemed to be beaten badly." Tsunade. Tsunade also read the report of the battle at that time. But because Hinata's Byakugan was too powerful, Tsunade ignored some key information. Hinata's chakra can suppress 9 tails. Or, it can suppress tailed beasts. This is a powerful level of power. Just like Hashirama can easily suppress tailed beasts with wood release, Uchiha can also control tailed beasts with Mangekyo Sharingan. This is a level of power that completely crushes tailed beasts. Chapter 211. Tsunade felt that he had grasped the crux of the problem. Hashirama single-handedly captured the 9 tails with the power of wood release. Uchiha Madara controlled the 9 tails to fight against Hashirama and eventually lost. Their strength didn't lie in the amount of chakra, but in the level of their power. They suppressed the tailed beasts and suppressed all ninjas. Shinobu's confidential archives had complete information. After Tsunade became Naruto, he deliberately went to read this history. When everyone's attention was attracted by Hinata's Byakugan, some people discovered that Hinata's strength had reached the level of suppressing the tailed beasts. Perhaps it's better to put it another way. Hinata has the potential to grow to the level of Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Someone discovered this secret. If this person noticed Hinata's abnormality after the Chunin exam, then the scope is actually very small. Outsiders only know that Hinata's Byakugan can see the 9 tails in the Jinchuriki's body and reach some kind of agreement with the 9 tails. But in the Chunin exam, Hinata showed the power to suppress the tailed beasts. Moreover, Hinata's rapid growth has already proved how much potential Hinata has. Orochimaru Sand Village, Hyuga family Danzo. Tsunade almost locked onto his target. Danzo. It was Danzo who found Tsunade and gave him the information about the missed coup. When deciding on the candidates for the investigation team, Danzo proposed to let Hinata participate and use Hinata's strength to improve the survival of the investigation team. However, Danzo didn't insist on this matter. This was completely inconsistent with Danzo's previous style of doing things. But if you combine it with what happened in the water country, everything makes sense. Imagine, if Kakashi died in the water country, then everything would be different in Hinata's eyes. Kakashi's death was caused by the cloud and the rock, but Tsunade's wrong decision also accounted for a lot of factors. Especially when Hinata had the ability to destroy all the enemies, but because of Tsunade's wrong decision, Kakashi was killed. This matter will be infinitely magnified in Hinata's eyes. After Kakashi's death, Danzo can use this to divide the relationship between Hinata and Tsunade, thus pulling Hinata's support. Everything seemed to be in order. Danzo. Tsunade gritted his teeth. In order to win Hinata over, Danzo didn't hesitate to betray Shinobu's information and let 4 Jonin go to the water country to die. And in order to make the rock and the cloud cooperate with Danzo's actions, Tsunade didn't know how much Danzo paid. The Cloud Village arrived late in the water country, maybe because they didn't talk to Danzo. Everything was clear. The reason for the incident in the water country was indeed because of Hinata, but it wasn't because the outside forces were attracted by Hinata, but because someone inside Shinobu wanted to get Hinata's power. In terms of the value of a ninja, Hinata's value is even higher than Naruto, who is the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Once Hinata grows to the level of Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, what's the difference between the so-called tailed beasts and pets? With Hinata's power, Shinobu can even take back all 9 tailed beasts. Especially when Hinata's character is a bit strange, and he has a strong sense of identity with the village. Controlling Hinata seems to be very easy. Hinata is lazy, greedy, and troublesome. Hinata has too many shortcomings in his character. These shortcomings protect Hinata, but also make Hinata more valuable in the eyes of some people. Tsunade stared at Hinata, and Hinata scratched his head embarrassedly. Why are you looking at me? I'm looking at a golden treasure. Tsunade sighed. At present, she doesn't have any substantial evidence. Everything can only be investigated in secret. However, investigating Danzo is an extremely difficult thing. Tsunade doesn't even know how many ninjas of Shinobu have colluded with Danzo. Danzo's words can indeed fool some people to work for him. The establishment of Root is actually beneficial to Shinobu, but Root led by Danzo may not be beneficial to Shinobu. Tsunade put away Kakashi's mission report, and then said as if nothing happened. Let's work first. After work in the evening, Hinata went home to take a bath and sleep. Lying on the bed, Hinata hugged Hanabi, who was sleeping soundly, but in his heart, he was thinking about the future. There are only 3 years before the Fourth Shinobu World War. Hinata's original idea was to wait until the end of the war and become Shinobu's Naruto consultant. However, as his strength gradually increased, his knowledge became wider, and he came into contact with more and more things. Hinata's ideas gradually changed. Hinata had the idea of giving up the seal on Otsutsuki Kagaya a long time ago. Hinata wanted to try to communicate with Kagaya by using the blood relationship, as well as the mentality of the other Otsutsuki clansmen to draw Otsutsuki Kagaya to his side. In the past, this idea wasn't particularly strong. It's just that as Hinata's strength became stronger and stronger, this idea occupied Hinata's mind. Up to now, Hinata's only fetters to the Shinobu world are the Hyuga family and a few friends of Shinobu. But these people will eventually experience life, old age, illness, and death, but Hinata may not have this problem. Because Hinata hopes to reach the level of Otsutsuki Kagaya's life. Immortal, indestructible. Perhaps one day, Hinata will be separated from the people he used to be very familiar with. If he continues to stay in the Shinobu world, not only will Hinata's strength not be able to improve, but he may also be involved in various conspiracies because of his strength. Even if Hinata unifies the Shinobu world with his strength, it seems that there is nothing to be happy about. For the evolution of life, abandoning the Shinobu world seems to have become inevitable for Hinata. No one can give up the temptation of life evolution, and Hinata can't. I must get in touch with Black Zetsu as soon as possible. Hinata made up his mind. With Hinata's understanding of the history of the Shinobu world and the information in his hands, it is actually possible to join forces with Black Zetsu. But the key point is how to make Otsutsuki Kagaya give up the infinite Tsukuyomi plan. In order to fight against the other Otsutsuki clan members, Otsutsuki Kagaya created a large number of White Zetsu army. In fact, from the perspective of the 4 Shinobi World Wars, the White Zetsu army doesn't seem to be of much use. Instead of putting hope on White Zetsu, Otsutsuki Kagaya might as well put hope on her 2 sons. In fact, Hinata also has a guess that maybe the cultivation of White Zetsu hasn't been completely successful. If the sacred tree grows by absorbing natural energy as nutrients, even if the White Zetsu is cultivated by the power of the sacred tree, it may reach a certain level. What's more, the purpose of cultivating White Zetsu is not to create an army at all, but to use the power of the sacred tree to absorb the vitality of those people in turn. It may be difficult to make Otsutsuki Kagaya give up the infinite Tsukuyomi plan, but Hinata still wants to try. No matter what the final result is, as long as Naruto and Sasuke are there, Hinata has the hope of turning the tables. Looking at Hana in his arms, Hinata couldn't help but poke Hana's little face. I didn't expect that the Hyuga family would eventually rely on you to inherit it. Chapter 212. November is coming to an end. The ninja world seems to have forgotten about the incident of the water country. Except for the tentative contact between Shinobu and the mist, the situation of the ninja world seems to have not changed. However, under this calm surface, the undercurrent of the ninja world has never stopped for a moment. Hinata sometimes thinks that if there is no threat from the organizations, will the 4th Shinobi World War happen? The answer should be yes. In fact, since the Sand agreed to Orochimaru's plan to collapse Shinobu, the ninja world has been moving towards the 4th Shinobi World War. The ninjas of the major ninja villages may be yearning for peace, but peace means that ninja will lose their role. If the ninja villages want to maintain their relative independence, they can't completely rely on the daimyo. While the ninja villages are afraid of outsiders controlling their ninja power, they also want to expand their own power. The kage and the leaders of the various villages want to always have the power of ninja in their own hands, not controlled by the daimyo of the country. But for the daimyo of the various countries, they have to accept the policy of one village per country because of their fear of ninja power, but this doesn't mean that they don't have other ideas in their hearts. The daimyo want peace. Once there is no turmoil in the ninja world, they can use peace as an excuse to reduce the ninja village's funds and limit the development of the ninja village. This is the contradiction of the system, and unless one side first gives up the desire for power, this contradiction will be irreconcilable. So at this time, the ninja world needs a war. Ninjas survive in the form of employment, and what they need is a chaotic world. A chaotic world where bandits are everywhere and people can't make a living. So to change the situation of the ninja world, what is needed is not war, but a reasonable system. Shinobu has begun to reform. In fact, Shinobu has always been the pioneer of the reform of the ninja world. Whether it is the ninja village system, the umbu system, or the ninja school system, they all started from Shinobu. In November, 2 major events happened in Shinobu. The first thing is that Shinobu Hospital established branches in 10 important towns in the Land of Fire. Shinobu Hospital mainly employs medical ninjas, and some ordinary doctors are also recruited to treat all the civilians in the city. Once the hospital was established, it was immediately welcomed by all the citizens of the Fire Country. The medical ninjas means were not comparable to that of ordinary doctors. Many difficult diseases were just insignificant in the eyes of medical ninjas. In the past, medical ninjas only served ninjas and civilians in their own villages. The medical ninjas took a large amount of Shinobu's funds. They were very useful, but they couldn't generate even a little bit of financial income for Shinobu. This was also the reason why Tsunade's suggestion could not be implemented. However, the establishment of the Shinobu Hospital branch gave Tsunade hope. Shinobu Hospital suddenly became famous in the ninja world, and all the major ninja villages sent spies to sneak into the Land of Fire to gather information. The establishment of hospitals composed of medical ninjas across the country is actually a form of employment, which is not contrary to the ninja's way of life. The reason why patients hire medical ninjas to treat them is the same as those rich businessmen, and nobles hire ninjas to protect them. The establishment of the branch gives medical ninjas extra income. Although this income is just a drop in the bucket for Shinobu's huge military group, this matter is tantamount to opening a new idea for Shinobu. Change the ninja's way of life. Once ninjas are needed in times of peace, the peace of the ninja world can continue to be maintained. Naruto's office. Tsunade has been in high spirits during this time. She has always wanted to establish a perfect medical ninja system, but because of Shinobu's limited funds, she couldn't implement it. However, with the establishment of the Shinobu Hospital branch, the plan to train medical ninjas on a large scale is imminent. Shinobu needs more medical ninjas, and the Land of Fire also needs more medical ninjas. And medical ninjas themselves are the logistical support of Shinobu. Hinata was lying on the sofa. In the past month, Hinata was so tired that she didn't even want to move a finger. Hinata can be considered to be reaping what she sowed. Hinata took several genin to shoot a movie. Hinata used shadow clones to play all the roles in the crew. It took a month to finally finish shooting the movie. The script of the movie was written by Hinata herself. Hinata also has a clear understanding of the characters in the movie, so it wasn't difficult to shoot the movie. As for the movie's special effects, does ninja need special effects? At most, they hire a few chunin to release a few gorgeous ninjutsu. As early as a few days ago, Tsunade ordered people to promote Hinata's movie in the ninja world. When the movie's post-production is done, it can be released in the ninja world at the same time. Using ninjas to shoot a movie is a publicity stunt in itself, not to mention that the protagonist of the movie is Hinata, the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan, the most powerful clan in the ninja world. Hinata's reputation alone is enough for people to buy a movie ticket and go to the cinema to watch it. Hinata is just testing the water. If making a movie can make money, then Hinata won't be responsible for the following shooting. Shinobu has so many veteran genin, enough to shoot several movies at the same time. Tsunade held 2 documents in his hand and said to Hinata, who was lying on the sofa, "The establishment of the Shinobu Hospital branch and the shooting of the movie are now on the right track. If these 2 plans are successful, then it proves that ninjas can do more work besides performing tasks. But at present we have only solved the problem of medical ninjas and the veteran genin. But most of the ninjas in the village are still at the level of chunin. They still need to perform tasks to earn commissions. Jonin is the top combat power of the ninja village. Chunin is the mainstay of the ninja village, and the ninja village itself is the military force of the country. So no matter how to change the way ninjas live, it can only be done without affecting the combat power of the ninja village. In fact, the reason why these 2 plans are implemented is mainly to better develop Shinobu, not to reform the ninja world." Tsunade sat on the chair and asked with a serious face, "Hinata, do you have any thoughts about the chunin in the village?" Hinata hummed and said, "Not at all. Shinobu is the military force of the country of fire. It's okay to let those veteran genin make movies, but if even the chunin doesn't fight, Shinobu's combat power will drop instantly." Tsunade also knows that this is difficult, but if it is not changed, the ninja world will still repeat the previous history. War, peace, and so on. In fact, in Hinata's view, the best way to change the ninja system is to seize the national power, and ninjas actually have this power. But in the ninja world, this is actually very unrealistic. Because the civilians will not agree with the ninjas' rule. Even if ninjas forcibly seize the power with absolute strength, the country will be in turmoil for a long time. If foreign countries take this opportunity to attack the country of fire, Shinobu is likely to lose everything under the situation of internal and external troubles. Chapter 213. Tsunade served as the Naruto of Shinobu. Originally, she was only appointed in the face of danger. She didn't want her grandfather's life's work to go down the drain, and she didn't want the dream of breaking the rope tree. But Hinata introduced 2 reform plans in succession, which made Tsunade see hope. Tsunade wanted to do something big and change the pattern of the ninja world. Just like her grandfather, Hashirama, she wanted to contribute to the peace of the ninja world. In short, Tsunade has become arrogant. Now that Shinobu's 2 new plans have made a good start, Tsunade can't wait to implement the next plan and completely change the ninja's way of life, so that the peace of the ninja world can continue to be maintained. Tsunade's thinking has been limited by the profession of ninja. The ninja school has only become a 6-year system in recent years. It used to be a 3-year system or even shorter. What does the ninja school teach? They teach ninjutsu, they teach fighting, they teach everything related to fighting. But they don't teach economics, politics, law, or anything related to people's livelihood. In this case, can you still expect a ninja to change himself? Ninjas only know how to fight and kill. Once they leave these, ninjas may become bandits, robbers, because most ninjas don't know how to live normally at all, because no one has ever taught them this knowledge. But Hinata's thinking is not limited by the profession of ninja. In Tsunade's view, this may be related to Hinata's growth environment and personality. Hyuga family is a ninja family, but at the same time, it is also a noble family in the land of fire, especially the Hyuga main family, who often considers themselves as nobles. Hinata, who grew up in this environment, may have a broader way of thinking. At least Tsunade thinks so she can only consult Hinata about the plan to reform Shinobu. Looking at Tsunade's hopeful eyes, Hinata carefully said, Then I will think about it again." Tsunade nodded and solemnly said, "During this time, you don't have to come to Naruto building to work, but the position of Naruto's secretary will not be removed for the time being. If you have new ideas, come to Naruto building to report to me." "Hinata, what we are doing is for the peace of the entire ninja world. This is not a trivial matter. I hope you can take it seriously." "Hinata, then I'll leave it to you." Hinata was nervous by Tsunade's attitude. She got up from the sofa. Hinata saluted and said, "Leave everything to me." After a few seconds of silence in the office, Hinata suddenly asked tentatively, Then I'll go back first?" And after returning to the Hyuga residence, The first thing Hinata did was to lie on her small bed and sleep. In order to make the movie, Hinata was almost exhausted to death. Hinata was responsible for everything alone. At first, it was very refreshing, but after a long time, she felt bored to death. Sleeping from noon to midnight, Hinata got up and went to the kitchen to find something to eat to fill her stomach. After taking a hot bath, Hinata went back to bed and continued to sleep. It wasn't until the next morning that Hinata had the energy to think about the task given to him by Tsunade. After all, Shinobu is the military force of the Land of Fire, and Shinobu is not the only village in the ninja world. Considering the factor of foreign enemies, all the plans must be carried out without affecting Shinobu's combat power. Just this alone made it impossible for many ideas to be realized. If the factor of the Land of Fire is considered, some of the mineral resources in the country have nothing to do with Shinobu. The daimyo is in charge of the politics and economy of the Land of Fire, and this economy includes all the economic affairs such as commerce, minerals, and so on. Coupled with the fact that ninjas only know how to kill people, it is very unrealistic to let ninjas do business. Considering these factors, one can't limit their vision to the Land of Fire. In fact, there are many precious mineral resources in the seabed, but the scientific and technological power of the ninja world is limited, and ordinary people can't develop the sea resources at all. Moreover, some resources can't be used at all without the scientific and technological level. But if the power of ninjas is used to explore and mine, can they develop the resources in the sea? Hinata feels that there is still hope. In this way, the 5 major ninja countries will focus on the sea. When there is a conflict between countries, ninjas will have a place to use their strength, and their strength will not stagnate because of slacking off. The sea is not under the management of the country, so the daimyo can't intervene. But the businessmen and nobles in the country can use their private identity to participate. When there is a battle between ninjas on the sea, these rich businessmen and nobles have to hire ninjas to protect themselves. I am really a super invincible genius. Hinata was a little complacent. Shinobu can occupy the sea resources with its own military power, and Shinobu ninjas can also be hired by the rich businessmen and nobles in the country. Other ninja villages also have some small conflicts with each other because of the new source of income, but they will also restrain each other and not let these small conflicts become the fuse of war. But there is also a difficulty in this. Once the ninja villages have more sources of funding, a new round of arms race will inevitably follow, and the major ninja villages will frantically expand the village's military power. When all the ninja villages digest the new resources, it may be the beginning of a larger war. However, considering the factors of the 4th Shinobi World War, maybe all of this can be avoided. When the 4th Shinobi World War is over, the relationship between the 5 major ninja villages will be eased, and all the contradictions and conflicts can be discussed at the negotiating table instead of using force. Thinking of this, Hinata took out a pen and paper and began to draft a new plan. Using the power of ninjas to develop the sea, in fact, many ninjutsu can be used. Especially Yamato's would release, one move can create a sea base. And the Hyuga family's Byakugan is simply a divine tool for exploring resources. So in this matter, the Hyuga family has the ability to take a share of the pie. In the matter of the Shinobu Hospital branch, Hyogo has changed some of the Hyuga family's ninjas to become medical ninjas. In the matter of shooting movies, the Hyuga family has the funds and ability to open cinemas all over the country of fire. Shinobu is a big force composed of countless small forces. The Hyuga family only needs to take a share of the pie, but if they want to take a share of everything, in the end, it will only arouse the jealousy of everyone. From the morning to the afternoon, Hinata rushed to Hyogo's study with the new plan. Bang bang bang. Come in. Hyogo was dealing with the family's affairs, and after seeing Hinata he asked with a little doubt, "Hinata, you rarely take the initiative to come to my place. What's the matter?" Hinata put the plan on the table in front of Hyogo, and said as if he was presenting a treasure, "Father-sama, do you think this plan can be implemented? Is there anything else to add?" Chapter 214. Hinata is still a little self-aware. It's okay to rely on the knowledge of his previous life, but if he really wants to consider everything, it's not something that Hinata can do. Let me see. Hyogo picked up the plan and looked at it. Hyogo is naturally very familiar with Shinobu's recent changes, and he didn't expect his baby daughter to be able to make such a reform plan. Since Hinata has talent in this area, Hyogo is naturally happy to see it. Well, you've done very well. Hyogo put down the plan. Hinata has already analyzed the series of consequences that can be caused by occupying the sea resources very clearly, and Hyogo doesn't need to add any more. If this plan is successfully implemented, the benefits for the ninja village will undoubtedly be huge. The village will have an independent economic source, and the development of the village will no longer rely on the daimyo's appropriation and task commission. Moreover, the power of the ninja is indispensable to compete for the sea resources. This has great benefits for the village, and even for the ninja profession. Without the constraint of economic problems, the daimyo will have no key means to check and balance the ninja village. Although the ninjas don't know how to govern the country, nor how to develop the economy, the ninja village is the military force of a country, and the strength of the ninja village is strong, and the daimyo dare not reduce the village's funds at will. Especially when the countries are expanding their military forces, the daimyo dare not reduce the ninja village's funds at will. If Hinata's plan can be successfully implemented, it may change the current situation of the ninja world. However, the premise of all this is that there are so many resources in the sea that can be used. Hinata, how did you find the mineral resources in the sea? Hinata blinked. I saw it. The last time I dived into the land of water from the bottom of the sea with Asuma, sensei, I saw it with the Byakugan. Hyogo nodded slightly. Hinata's Byakugan is very strong, and it doesn't surprise Hyogo that she can see this. In that case, you should report this matter to the 5th daimyo. Well, I want to wait a little longer. What's the matter? Is there anything that needs to be changed in this plan? Hyogo said solemnly, if the 5th daimyo thinks this plan is feasible, he will naturally hold a meeting to discuss the specific details. Even if there are still shortcomings in your plan, the village will improve this plan. Hinata shook her head and said weakly, it's not for that reason. I'm on vacation. After saying that, Hinata lowered her head a little. Hyogo, with his full understanding of his daughter, Shursui has no idea what Hinata's thoughts. Shursui Shishina Shursui, Shursons to think about the development strategy of the village at home. With Hinata's salted fish character, although she already came up with a specific development plan early, she would never let go of this rare holiday. Hinata will delay for as long as possible, until Tsunade is impatient. Hinata will take out the plan and give it to Tsunade. Taking a deep breath, Hyogo said lightly, it's good to rest at home for a few days. You've been a little relaxed in your training recently. In the world of ninjas, strength is the foundation of everything. Hinata looked up at Hyogo and asked expectantly, then father, do you have time to practice with me? Hyogo, I've been a little busy recently, and it's almost the end of the year. Many of the family's businesses need to be summarized and calculated, so I don't have time to practice with you for the time being. Takuma has been idle recently. You can find him to practice with you. Hinata smiled when she heard this, looking for Hinata Takuma. Father, then I'll take my leave first. Well, picking up the plan, Hinata quickly ran out of Hyogo's study. Hinata? Uncle Hizashi, a middle-aged man who looked very similar to Hyogo, walked towards him. If you don't look carefully, you won't be able to tell the difference between the two. Uncle Hizashi, are you looking for father? Hizashi nodded and said, well, is he inside? Hinata nodded. Yes. Hizashi chuckled and said, then I'll go in first. Unexpectedly bumping into Hizashi, Hinata was a little curious, so he carefully hid his aura and hid outside the door to eavesdrop on the conversation inside. Brother. Hizashi, you're here. Brother, how are you going to deal with Danzo's matter? The roots of a tree can only be hidden underground, occasionally exposed on the surface to support the growth of the tree. Shinobu wants to grow his roots on the leaves. No one will agree with this. That being said, we still have to be careful of Danzo's little tricks. I know. By the way, how is the investigation of the water country? I'm about to report this to brother. The Rock Village is also investigating the Water Country incident, and Inoki seems to have doubts about it. 32 people from the Cloud Village died in the mission one after another this month. Died. Yes. I'm still investigating the specific situation. But from the clues we have so far, it's not Cloud Village or Rock Village who planned this incident. There should be a hidden hand behind the scenes. This matter doesn't seem to be Danzo's doing, although Sendai has doubts in this regard. Brother, Hinata's current strength is enough to deal with this situation. We don't need to worry too much. Hizashi, you are not the heir of the main clan, so there are some things you may not know. Someone is coveting Hinata's Byakugan, and this matter is likely to involve a secret from thousands of years ago. What is it? I don't know. Many years of war have caused a lot of information in the family to be lost. Our Hyuga family once suspected that someone deliberately destroyed the information in order to hide some secrets. Will that involve our Hyuga clan? I'm not sure yet. But Hinata's eyes. You should be very clear that her eyes are far better than ours. This is the hope of the Hyuga family, but at the same time, it may also bring disaster to the Hyuga family. Brother, don't worry too much. I will continue to investigate the Water Country incident. Let's put an end to this matter. Brother, if someone secretly planned all this, the more we investigate, the more we know the truth, the more danger our Hyuga family may be in. At least for now, we already know that there is someone behind this matter. As for the specific truth, when Hinata has further growth, everything will come to light. I understand. Let's talk about the family. Hinata had no interest in listening to the rest of the words. From the conversation between Hyogo and Hizashi, Hinata keenly discovered several key pieces of information. In the Water Country incident, the Rock Shinobi were completely wiped out, and although the 32 Cloud Shinobi returned to the village alive, they died in the mission within a month. Obviously, someone wanted to hide something. Chapter 215. Hinata returned to his small courtyard with a lot on his mind. He moved a small stool and sat in the courtyard, thinking about his own worries. Originally, Hinata had almost forgotten about the Water Country incident. Hinata always thought that it was Danzo's doing. But from the results of Hizashi's investigation, Danzo may have just helped someone take the blame, and the real mastermind behind the scenes has never appeared. In fact, Hinata has roughly guessed who it is. Someone has tampered with the history of the ninja world. And this matter must be done by Black Zetsu. If Black Zetsu wants to resurrect Kagaya, he must tamper with the history of the ninja world. Because only those who don't know the history will be deceived by Black Zetsu. Azura and Indra have been reincarnated for several generations. But Black Zetsu's plan didn't succeed until today, thousands of years later. Because Black Zetsu not only wants to tamper with history, but he also wants to create history. Black Zetsu wants to lead the ninja sect created by Hagoromo Sannin to the darkness, because only those who are completely immersed in the darkness can be induced by Black Zetsu. A normal person will never agree with the world created by infinite Tsukuyomi. Only those who are completely desperate in the real world will yearn for a Genjutsu world. But what is Black Zetsu's intention? Although Hinata feels that he is super invincible, and no one in the ninja world is his opponent, and no one is smarter than him, and no one is cuter than him. But Black Zetsu already has 2 chess pieces in his hands, Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Bordered Soil. He only needs to follow the original plan step by step. And there is still hope for Kagaya to be resurrected. But Black Zetsu wants to lead him into the darkness, which is obviously beyond Hinata's expectations. Although Hinata also feels that his performance is too perfect, and at a young age, he has to bear the attention that he shouldn't bear at this age. But if someone has been secretly plotting against him, Hinata will also feel very troubled. Black Zetsu was born at the moment when Kagaya was sealed. He should know a lot of things such as Hamura's matter. It shouldn't be. Hinata scratched his face with some distress. Some things could be easily analyzed as long as one had intelligence as a basis. If Black Zetsu knew about the Tensigen, then everything he did could be explained. Hinata felt that he had to get in touch with Black Zetsu as soon as possible. Otherwise, he didn't know what Black Zetsu would do. Black Absolute came and went like a shadow. With Hinata's ability, wanting to find Black Absolute was simply a fantasy story. However, Hinata also had his own plans. Hinata originally planned to wait for his strength to improve a little more before he went to film a Naruto version of Treasured Lotus Lantern, and put on a big play of Otsutsuki Agarwood splitting the moon to save his mother. The movie would definitely resonate with Black Zetsu. If Black Zetsu watched it, he would find the message Hinata had left for him. Hinata would inform Black Zetsu in the form of a secret signal in the movie that he wanted to meet with him, so that Black Zetsu would take the initiative to find him. However, judging from the current situation, this plan must be carried out as soon as possible. Otherwise, the people around Hinata would be in great danger. A person's darkest time is when everyone around him abandons him. He will feel that he has been abandoned by the world, and his mind will go to the extreme. Why did Uchiha Madara leave Shinobu? In addition to Hashirama abandoning him to marry Uzumaki Mito, the Uchiha clan recognized Hashirama more than Uchiha Madara. Uchiha bordered Soil, Nagato, and the others all fell into darkness because of the death of their companions. Black Zetsu had lived for more than 1,000 years, and he had a very clear understanding of the darkness of human nature. Although Hinata was living happily every day, once the Hyuga family, Kakashi, and the others all died because of Shinobu, Hinata wasn't sure what dangerous things he would do. I can only meet Black Zetsu as soon as possible. Hinata had a plan in his mind. The next movie will be the story of splitting the moon to save the mother. Hinata put his hands on his cheeks. The other roles can be played by others, but the role of Otsutsuki Kagaya must be played by Hinata. Hinata can use the transformation jutsu to become a little more mature. As for the signal left for Black Zetsu, maybe it can be shown in the dialogue of the characters, such as acrostic poems. It can also be a little hint in the background, or it can be expressed through the theme song of the movie. In fact, after meeting Black Zetsu, Hinata also has a lot of benefits. Hinata wants to collect the chakra of the nine-tailed beasts, but if he only relies on Hinata's own strength, this is actually difficult to do, because Shinobu himself is Hinata's biggest constraint. But if he has Black Zetsu's help, it may be a lot easier. In fact, Hinata has a hole in his brain. The chakra used by ninjas is the combination of spiritual energy and physical energy, and the ninja's own energy needs to be obtained through food. According to the law of conservation of energy, a ninja's life is actually consumption, so ninjas can't live forever. But the combination of the nine-tailed beasts represents the God Tree. If the God Tree grows by absorbing natural energy, then can Hinata absorb natural energy to nourish himself through the power of the nine-tailed beasts? Using the power of the nine-tailed beasts as a primer, cultivating himself as a God Tree. So what Hinata wants is not only the chakra of the tailed beasts, but also the chakra that contains the soul of the tailed beasts. Just like Minato divided the soul of the nine tails into two, each individual nine tails has an independent self, and can also create chakra independently. With Black Zetsu as an undercover in the organizations, Hinata can easily obtain the power of the nine-tailed beasts. Originally, Hinata planned to wait for his own strength to be a little stronger to have a bargaining chip with Black Zetsu. But since Black Zetsu has already noticed Hinata, it means that Hinata has something that attracts Black Zetsu's attention. Now that he has a bargaining chip, Hinata doesn't want to continue waiting. Back in his room, Hinata took out a pen and paper, and began to write the script of splitting the moon to save the mother. In this story, the protagonist Otsutsuki Agaru is of course the righteous side, and the sealed Otsutsuki Kagaya is also righteous. The real darkness in the world is someone who instigated the relationship between Otsutsuki Kagaya and his mother. That's right. From the standpoint of the Otsutsuki clan, Hinata has unconsciously imagined the three Holy Lands as the real behind-the-scenes boss of the ninja world, especially the old toad of Mount Mayaboku. As the native forces of the ninja world, the nutrients that maintain the three Holy Lands are actually natural energy. Therefore, the God Tree and the three Holy Lands are innately opposed. The old toad of Mount Mayaboku instigated Rikudo Sanin to seal Otsutsuki Kagaya. Although it was to save the ninja world, it may also be for energy. After writing the script, Hinata checked it twice, and he was satisfied with his talent to the extreme. Next, he has to think about how to leave a secret signal for Black Zetsu without anyone noticing. Chapter 216. Time passed quietly, and unknowingly, it was already December. Hinata has been staying at home to study medical ninjutsu during this time. Medical ninjutsu is relatively simple to learn from the medical ninja of the Hyuga family. During the mission to investigate Shinobu village a few months ago, Hinata collected a little blood of Kimimaro and prepared to bring it back for research. Hinata also remembered this matter recently, but when he really started to do research, Hinata found that he was completely in the dark and didn't know where to start. Orochimaru's base should have complete research materials of Kimimaro, and Hinata planned to find an opportunity to investigate it again. But even if Hinata gets Kimimaro's research materials, he needs the foundation of medical ninjutsu to understand it. During this time, the village was very calm. Hana has begun to practice the last stage of Rasengan. When she masters Rasengan, she will be able to practice Hinata's 20 Gods Hollow attack. Several genin who participated in the Chunin exam with Hinata were also busy with tasks and training recently. Everyone had their own things to do, and they also had their own goals that they had to achieve. It was only recently that Hinata found her dream in life and worked hard to achieve it. Hinata's first movie has been released and has received unanimous praise from all walks of life. The movie's box office is also rising. Shinobu should be able to make a lot of money. Because of this, Tsunade has begun to plan and prepare for the second movie. Hinata also handed over his newly written script to Tsunade. Hinata's little heart is still a little nervous. It's the kind of nervousness of doing bad things and being afraid of being discovered. And it's a bit exciting. Hinata feels that he is actually a good person, but because everyone has different standpoints and has their own justice, they have completely different perceptions of things. Just like Otsutsuki Kagaya. If she can give up the infinite Tsukuyomi plan and no longer create white Zetsu from living people, she can even be a hero who pacified the war thousands of years ago. In the small courtyard, Hinata was lying on a rocking chair. Hinata and Raytheon stood on both sides of Hinata, like the most loyal knights guarding Hinata. Fujin was dragging a plate, and Raytheon was fanning Hinata with a fan. Even if it's already December, the weather in Shinobu is still warm and sunny, and it's even a little hot at noon. Taking a sip of hot tea. Life is really lonely. Whoosh! Stop! The cat-faced Umbu instantly appeared in front of Hinata, and was immediately lifted by Raikami and Fujin. The two clenched their fists, one ready to hit the head, the other ready to hit the stomach. If it weren't for Hinata's timely words, the Umbu would have died in the line of duty. Hinata righteously educated. Your Umbu's habit is very bad. If I didn't save you just now, you would have been killed by my little brother as an enemy. Umbu. The Umbu came in from the front door of the Hyuga residence. The reason why he appeared in the form of the body flicker jutsu was that he was in a hurry. I will pay attention next time. The Umbu said. Hinata Naruto, Sama wants you to report to Naruto building immediately. After that, the Umbu left in a flash, and he didn't even say a word of thanks to his savior. Hinata snorted. The Umbu has been completely corrupted by power. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Hinata stayed at home for so many days, and he finally got busy. You two take care of the house. Understood, Wani-san. Driving to Naruto building, Hinata walked all the way to Naruto's office. Tsunade stared at Hinata and said in a light tone, You have been very leisurely recently. Hinata scratched his head embarrassedly. I was thinking. Staying at home and eating is the most active time of my mind. Tsunade snorted. Are you confessing without being pressed? Hinata. Looking around the office, Hinata found that Kakashi was also there. Could it be that there was a mission? With a light cough, Tsunade said. Our negotiations with the sand hideout are coming to an end, and the relevant compensation has been negotiated, so I need you to go to the sand village to retrieve the war compensation. We have considered the relevant candidates, and we agree that you two are the most suitable. Kakashi glanced sideways at Hinata, The only one who is really suitable should be Hinata. Hinata captured Ichibi, my love, Hanbao, and Kankuro, the 2 Kazekage's children, as well as the elite jonin of the Sand Hideout, Marky. It can be imagined how deep the resentment of the Sand Village towards Hinata is. But on the other hand, isn't Hinata a kind of deterrent to the Sand Village? And Kakashi's task is to observe, to see who is really hostile to Shinobu, and to see who can change their attitude. Perhaps Kakashi can control Hinata, and prevent Hinata from doing whatever he wants in the Sand Village. However, Kakashi seems to have forgotten that he is also the son of the White Fang. There is an old lady in the Sand Village who hates him. Although Shinobu and the Sand Village have become allies again, the Sand Village was forced to do so, and they didn't really want to ally with Shinobu. The Sand Village is now in its weakest period since its establishment. The 4th Kazekage was killed by Orochimaru, and a large number of elite ninjas were killed in Shinobu's plan to collapse the Sand Village. It has been almost 5 months since the end of the Chunin exam, but the Sand Village still hasn't elected the 5th Kazekage. This has become a joke in the entire ninja world. The Sand Hidden Village was in an unprecedentedly weak state, and in the face of Konoha's excessive demands, they could only tearfully agree and let Konoha do whatever they want. Shinobu naturally knows the true attitude of the Sand Village towards him. Tsunade sent Hinata and Kakashi to the Sand Village to further determine their attitude. Tsunade crossed his fingers on the table and looked at the two and said, I heard that Hinata has a good relationship with my love, Kankuro, and Hanbao. Some time ago, Hinata and Kankuro also exchanged gifts representing the friendship between Shinobu and the Sand Hideout. You can use this to improve our relationship with the Sand Hideout. In addition, the Sand Village also proposed to learn from Shinobu's advanced talent training system, as well as the medical ninja training system. I and the higher-ups have agreed to their request. Kakashi, you are responsible for selecting suitable talents from the Sand Village and bringing them back to Shinobu. Kakashi understood in his heart. The so-called suitable talents are actually people who aren't hostile to Shinobu and have an important identity that can influence the Sand's higher-ups' attitude. Otherwise, the Sand ninjas could just send the war compensation to the Sand Village themselves. After a pause, Tsunade finally said, Okay. There's no time to lose, go immediately. With Kakashi, Tsunade didn't need to say too many things. Kakashi can deal with this kind of thing. As for Hinata, in addition to the role of Hinata to deter the Sand Village, Hinata's relationship with my love trio can also play a role. However, Tsunade's main purpose is to train Hinata and let Hinata know more about international affairs. If it wasn't for this, Tsunade wouldn't have to pay attention to so many things if someone else went to the Sand Village. Chapter 217. After preparing the necessary luggage for the trip, Hinata took Raijin and Fujin to Shinobu's gate to meet Kakashi. Kakashi glanced at the 2 fat men and asked in surprise, Are the 2 of them going too? Hinata explained, They are my little brothers. My safety depends on them. If I don't take them, they will really become freeloaders. While saying that, Hinata took out a sealing scroll and unsealed her car with a boom. Kakashi-sensei, take my car. Kakashi. Hinata manipulated the mechanism to change the car into a convertible, otherwise with the height of Raijin and Fujin, it would be difficult for them to sit in it. Get in the car. Hinata sat in the driver's seat, Kakashi sat in the co-driver's seat, and Raijin and Fujin sat in the back. Hinata put on his sunglasses and said with a proud expression, Kakashi-sensei, sit tight. After that, Hinata urged chakra, and the car steadily moved forward, and in just a few seconds, the car's speed was increased to the highest. Anyway, there are no traffic rules in the ninja world, so it's up to Hinata to drive. Kakashi leaned back on the soft chair behind him and curiously touched the various parts of the car, looking like a country bumpkin who has never seen the world. Hinata chuckled. How is it? Kakashi-sensei, this car is not bad, right? Kakashi agreed. It is indeed good. It is very comfortable to sit in, and it can also save chakra and physical strength. If there is a chance, I will also ask the Sand Hidden Village for one. Hinata despised him in his heart. Kakashi-sensei, you can't do it. It takes chakra to operate this car, And with your chakra, I don't think you can hold on for long. Kakashi was not a long-lasting man. Kakashi asked curiously, Hinata, how long can you last? Me. Hinata was very proud. If I drive myself, I can probably last for a day and a night. Taking the three of you will consume a lot of energy, but we also need to rest at night, so it shouldn't be a problem to reach the sand-hidden village. Kakashi thought for a moment and suddenly said seriously, Hinata, it's best not to let the sand ninjas see your car. Hinata was stunned. Why? Hinata originally wanted to drive into the sand-hidden village to show off. Kakashi explained, although driving will consume a certain amount of chakra, it will only consume one person. The rest of the team can maintain their best condition. Once the sand-hidden village discovers this, they will manufacture this car in batches. This is not a good thing for Shinobu. Hinata made an okay gesture and nodded. Don't worry. When we reach the land of wind, I will put the car away. Click. Hinata turned on the stereo, and the dynamic music sounded. Hinata swayed slightly with the rhythm of the music, and his mood also became cheerful. The air in the ninja world was very fresh, and the car was driving very fast. The wind blew, and Hinata's hair was blowing on his face. Hinata held the steering wheel with one hand, and the other hand was pulling his hair behind his ear, experiencing the pleasure of driving fast and furious. If he didn't drive in the land of fire, it would be a waste of the land of fire's climate. Kakashi suddenly said, Hinata, I heard that you have been slacking on your practice recently. You can't do this. If you continue like this, you will be surpassed by Naruto and Sasuke. Hinata's eyes hidden under the sunglasses flashed a trace of contempt. You slack off for more than 10 years. You are not qualified to talk about me. However, Kakashi has been working very hard recently. He often sneaked to the back mountain of Shinobu to practice, and occasionally took the initiative to practice with Akai. Akai was also very happy. He finally took back Kakashi's sincerity from the bordered soil. Hinata explained with a face full of grievances. It's not that I am not working hard. I am a taijutsu-type ninja, and the growth of my body limits my strength. Recently, except for the steady increase of chakra, there is not much progress in taijutsu. But in terms of jutsu, I have been working hard to develop it, and my new jutsu has made quite good progress. Kakashi-sensei, you can try it when you have time. For Hinata's tragic experience, Kakashi said that he was envious. The growth of the body limits the progress of strength. The chakra has been steadily increasing. The jutsu has also made quite good progress. This was already a huge improvement, alright. To be honest, Hinata hardly left the house these days. Every day, he stayed at home eating and drinking. But even so, Hinata's strength is still steadily increasing. It's just that the direction of improvement is different from before. Sure enough, he can become strong while lying down. Kakashi didn't want to talk. When he was Hinata's age, he insisted on practicing for more than 6 hours a day. Even though he became dispirited later on, he never fell behind in his cultivation. Kakashi just didn't have the mind to develop new ninjutsu. At the age of 12, Kakashi independently developed the A-level ninjutsu Chidori, and later upgraded it to the S-level Raikiri. With Kakashi's talent, he shouldn't have gotten the title of Replication Ninja, but the title of Ninjutsu Master. Hinata saw some discussions about Legend of Bodo on the internet in his previous life. Kakashi seems to have developed a ninjutsu called Purple Lightning in Legend of Bodo, and it is said that it is very powerful. Thinking of this, Hinata suddenly said, Kakashi-sensei, you can actually integrate the Yin releases chakra into your Raikiri and try to develop a new ninjutsu. Kakashi wondered. Hinata, why do you have this idea? Hinata scratched his head and changed the topic. Kakashi-sensei, if you are surpassed by your 3 disciples, it will be very embarrassing. I am thinking for you, Kakashi. I will try. Kakashi felt that Hinata's idea may be reasonable. Kakashi's research on ninjutsu is not that deep, but Hinata has undoubtedly proved that he is a super genius in ninjutsu. Whether it is the support ninjutsu 20 God's Air Strike or the attack-type ninjutsu sandbag-like fist, they all proved Hinata's talent in ninjutsu. But this is very difficult to do. Kakashi thought for a while and said lightly, controlling two different attributes of chakra at the same time. This is not something an ordinary person can do. Hinata encouraged. Kakashi-sensei, you are a super genius, have some confidence in yourself. Kakashi rolled his dead fish eyes and said weakly, I wanted to encourage my disciple to work hard. But in the end, not only was I shown off, I was even encouraged by my disciple. I am such a failure as a teacher. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.